My provider is the main god. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176. You were responsible. Esha managed to rescue Ida again. The little girl opened her eyes again, was supported by Esha to sit up and leaned against the pillow, looking at Tang Yuan pitifully. My lord brother. I'm really sorry, I really didn't know it was you before, it was completely done by the Lord God. By the time I realized it, it was already like this. Listen to this little girl's tone, she is simply more pitiful than Yang Zitter. Tang Yuan feels like Wang Shiren, just doesn't know who Wang Dajin is. Okay, you'd better sit quietly, I don't blame you. I'm really sorry, I really didn't know anything before, it was all done by 720. By the time I realized it was already that's it. Tang Yuan comforted softly, took out an apple, condensed out a golden knife, and peeled off the apple skin after a few rounds. Come, eat an apple, this brand is not bad, it's really sweet. Ida weakly took the apple and gnawed it with both hands, looking like a hamster. Sitting next to the hospital bed, Tang Yuan rubbed his face and asked, speaking of which, I really have a lot of things that I haven't figured out yet. You said that I was a young rich second generation, so why did I become the will of the first generation? Ida, you are also the god of my world, you should have some historical records, right? Can you tell me about it? Ida nodded after hearing this, and said in a low voice, it's really strange, 25 years ago, probably in 2020, Tang Yuan's world is already in, Tang Ren was still a young man at that time, the company has just grown, and life is full of ambitions. One day after driving home alone, I suddenly found a baby in the back seat. That is you, brother, because you were very good at disguising, and even I can see that there is something abnormal, and I am not interested in the origin of an ordinary baby, so I didn't pay much attention to this. Tang Ren was Papa Tang's name. When Tang Yuan heard it, well, he really picked it up, that is, the way he appeared was a bit nonsensical, and he suddenly appeared in the back seat of his car. Do you want to go back and ask your father, if the car has never been changed, maybe I can go back to the back seat to remember the place where I was born? There are too many historical records. I also deleted a lot, so I only know this about your information. Later, because I was tired of going to other worlds to plunder resources, I learned the will of other sixth generations and created the main god. Generally speaking, it is quite satisfactory. In the first few years, it was not bad, and there were no problems, but suddenly one day the main god gave me feedback that he was invaded or something. This is really the first time in history that this happened. I searched carefully and found that there was an extra one-way link in the main god, but I couldn't follow that link to find the identity of the person who invaded the main god. Liu Yun and Ji Luo still couldn't understand, but Lin Xiaoyu was a reincarnation at any rate, so she listened to the things about the Lord God with gusto. Later, I found out that something was wrong on the other side of the link. It didn't take long before I felt that my control over the world began to weaken. At first, I thought it was just that the resources were a little exhausted, so I tried to eliminate it. I changed some things in the world, such as replacing some planets far away from the Earth with textures to reduce resource consumption. It's only a small-scale world anyway, and there is no life in that world except the Earth. But I slowly discovered this doesn't seem to be a problem of resources, but my own strength is constantly weakening. At this time, I have read a lot of information from that link. The most important thing is, there is an identification code in the link, although I don't know I know it, but when I asked others, I got a consistent answer. Although this identification code has never been seen before, the encoding format belongs to the first generation of will. At that time, the will celebrated for a while, saying that there is still the original the will of the first generation is alive, and the will of the first generation has not been killed by the dog management. Tang Yuan was already sweating profusely when he heard this. The things the 720 did sound so pervasive from another angle. Later, I already understood that the opposite of the link was a first generation will, that is, from then on, I began to frantically search for traces of the first generation will in the world, because I had never linked with other worlds before that, so if the will of the first generation has not left, it must still stay in my world, and finally I found you, my brother. When exactly? Tang Yuan asked, wiping his forehead. It was about 20.00% too. I don't remember clearly. Before that, I always thought that your existence was just a prank by the will of the first generation, so I used the automatic defense mechanism of the main god to mark you as a blasphemer. I want to use the power of other reincarnations to kill, but when I found you, I realized that you are the original will itself, and you live in my world. Well, that's why you still haven't told me why I am a first-generation will. Tang Yuan listened to Ida's narration. Although he had cleared up many things, he still couldn't figure out some of the most important issues. It was at 20.00% too, when the main god had completely stopped, and the income that the reincarnators could get from recycling items was still only 90.00%, but the 40.00% that should have been obtained by me just overflowed like this. That is to say, I have been unable to get anything since then, and the link is constantly exchanging things. In the past, because the resources on the link were independent, recycling items and exchanging items would not affect me, but later when they exchanged things, they started to draw resources from me. Although the resources drawn each time were not many, they couldn't bear it several times a day, and the proportion of draws from me was getting bigger and bigger. Later, when it reached, %, I couldn't hold on anymore. Generally, when this kind of resource is exhausted, the sixth generation of will stop the progress of the world, but because you live in my world, my brother, I can't hold on to it at all. I don't have the courage to suspend the world where you live. I tried to communicate with you, but I was too weak to have a normal conversation with you. So I had to turn my strength into resources to maintain the world. Afterwards, I began to faint frequently at home, until finally, when I opened my eyes again, I found myself lying in the hospital. That is to say, Ida even sacrificed her own power to exchange it for resources to keep the world running. In this way, the power she lost was not only 40.00%. Listen to the tone of this little girl. That was even more pitiful than Daoduan. Tang Yuan felt like a donkey. The matter has been completely understood here. Although Tang Yuan does not know why he became an ordinary human being as a first-generation will, he still has the security guards used by the first-generation will in his mind. It may be a brain twitch or some other reason. 361 security. The guard became 720. Then one day the main guard randomly selected Tang Yuan as the reincarnation by chance. 720 refused to accept it. 3 times, 5 divisions and 2 deciphered the main god. Tang Yuan relied on this castrated version of the main god to start to flourish, and this is the beginning of the whole story. Later, due to my own random updates, some plugins were indeed updated from the main god, but there are also many plugins that 720 made by itself, such as the violent suppression. The effect is to seize the power of Ida, and if you consider if the meaning of 720 exists, there is nothing wrong with it making such a plugin. Because the security guards serve the will of the first generation, maybe 720 detected that Tang Yuan's power has weakened, so he specially made this plugin to let Tang Yuan can seize the power of other world wills so as to restore the strength of his own original will. And the consequence of all this is that Ida was trapped very badly. This is simply the biggest tragedy in the entire void. Fortunately, it was discovered early and resolved early. Otherwise, if Ida was cheated to death, if Tang Yuan knew about this, it would be a lie to say that he did not blame himself. Period. Those who say, my life is up to me, and this day I will reverse it are usually idiots. Think about it, everything you eat and wear is given to you by God. Yes, you still want to reverse it. What a disgrace to Woozy! Exclamation mark. So Tang Yuan is still blaming himself even if nothing major happened to Ida. He asked Esha, how is Ida doing now? Esha shook his head helplessly. Although it has stabilized, the main god is still in a state of suspension, and the reincarnators can rely on the % of the resources they have accumulated to exchange things from the main god. After all, this is the main god. It's just the working principle. However, although Ida won't lose money, she can't get any benefits, especially, her current situation is not only that her resources are exhausted, but also that she is very weak due to the sharp decline in her strength. Even if she is supplemented with resources, she can't recover from her weak state, because the process of transforming power into resources is irreversible. Power can become resources but resources cannot become power. Tang Yuan waved his hand impatiently to show that he didn't want to hear these things. He opened his mouth and said to Esha word by word, I want to help her, tell me how to do it, I have the main responsibility for this matter. Esha shrugged, that's simple, you continue to go to other worlds, erode other worlds, take their power and return to Ida. What are you talking about? He quit, frowning and staring at Esha with a black face. You mean to tell me to erode other worlds again? How could I do such a shitty thing? Esha waved his hands in a panic and explained, you misunderstood, not all worlds are created by will, there are also many wild worlds, that is, naturally generated worlds. Those worlds are generally chaotic or dark, you can go to those worlds to carry out erosion, and when the progressive erosion reaches a certain level, you can hand over the ownerless world to other world wills for management. Oh, of course, don't hand it over to the 6th generation of wills, their own resource points it's not enough, one world is enough, that is to say. I can find those unowned worlds, first erode the world, get the power back to Ida, and then I can choose to let go or hand over the weakened world to those wills to manage? Tell me, how many worlds can the will of the world manage at most? Zilubia raised her hand and interjected, countless, because apart from the 6th generation of wills, the wills of other eras have unlimited resources, no matter how many worlds there are. Well, as long as you can manage it, look at me. In addition to the Leogan series, there is another relatively small world called Fury. Oh my god, it seems that they are all games from Factory B. Okay, I understand. Tang Yuan turned his head, made a click sound, and stood up. That's it, it seems that this time I'm really going to save the world. Well, save the world. To be continued. Chapter 177 I am no longer a human being! Exclamation mark. Now that they are all so happy to decide to save the world, Tang Yuan is naturally preparing to leave immediately. He always does whatever comes to his mind. To put it bluntly, he is called vigorous and resolute, but to put it bluntly, he likes to take things for granted. However, this time, everyone including Ida told him to wait, there were more important things to do before eroding the ownerless world. What's more important? Is there anything more important than saving people? Tang Yuan was a little confused when he heard the unanimous advice from everyone. Zilubia was busy making a quilt for Ida, and she turned her head and replied angrily, is it nice to use a human body? What? Tang Yuan was confused. Esha smiled wryly and said, it seems that you really don't understand anything, although you are a first-generation will, and your body is indeed created by yourself, it contains too many concepts that belong to humans. Why? To put it bluntly, it means, you are a mortal body. Although your will be liberated after the body dies, it will be very troublesome to create a new body, and I'm sure you don't even know how to recreate the body. I really don't understand how you made this body. Wait a minute, you mean to say that I created this body myself? Tang Yuan was really confused this time. He touched his temples, showing a mentally retarded face, although I have you know that I am not your own but was picked up by my father, but, how can you be sure of the source of my body? Alice. Esha sighed, and Ida turned around on the bed and turned away from looking at this side, while Zilubia and Anru beside the bed also covered their faces and looked like they couldn't bear to look directly. What are you doing? Seeing their reaction, Tang Yuan became anxious. Is that an exaggeration? Zilubia whispered, it is indeed so exaggerated. You have admitted that your own source is unknown, so tell me where your body comes from? I feel that apart from being an original will, you other cognitions are just at the level of ordinary people. Sorry for not being derogatory, but it is really like what I said. I suspect that you may really have watched too many kimchi dramas, and you will lose your memory if you disagree with me. Do you want to try to get a girl to kiss you? The power of kimchi may be able to restore your memory, of course. It is also possible that you not only failed to restore your memory, but also got cancer. Fuck off, I never watch kimchi dramas. Are you still going to say that I finally beat cancer and then got into a car accident on the street? Yo, it seems that you know these routines very well, and you still say that you never watch kimchi dramas. You're so right that I'm speechless. That's alright. Esha stood up and turned off the small screen next to it to observe the situation of Ida. Tang Yuan had seen it, and what was displayed on the small screen was the situation in Ida's world, that is, the world I was born and raised in looks like a ubiquitous surveillance camera, but there is a lot of data constantly refreshed next to it. I can't understand it at all, at least Lin Xiaoyu is such a technical geek, and he has already mastered programming linguistics. Thousands of years later, technical geeks of the C-Mega language said that they could not understand the meaning of these data, but at least they could see some similarities with programming languages from the format. Tang Yuan thinks it's better not to delve into this. For example, the world is actually a huge program or something. It's scary to think about it carefully. Esha walked up to Tang Yuan, pulled him and walked out the door. Come on, my coquettish female doctor in black silk will spend some time alone with you. Let's go to the next ward, where no one will bother you. Oh, no problem, but why do I feel that what you said is not right? Tang Yuan was pulled by her and followed her very cooperatively. People with dirty thoughts think everything is dirty. Come here, you have to listen to the doctor's words in the hospital. Esha dragged him out of Ita's ward angrily. You or save me. Tang Yuan scratched a long scratch on the ground with his hands before being dragged away. He wailed at Lin Xiaoyu, and was dragged around a corner and disappeared from everyone's sight. Fuck you. Who the hell is you, you're? Lin Xiaoyu blushed and yelled in the direction of Tang Yuan, who had disappeared. Tang Yuan was dragged by Esha all the way into the next ward, and Esha skillfully pulled out a connected device from a wall, which looked like a VR, and she threw the device to Tang Yuan. Take it, put it on your head. What is this? He took the VR, flipping through it, unable to understand. I mean, you didn't tell me what you dragged me here for. Esha said angrily, upgrade your mortal body. Since you can't do it yourself, you have to ask me to help. Hurry up, what are you afraid of? Will I still harm you? Have you seen it? How many wills hurt each other? Let me tell you, although there are doctors in this world, there are no police, and everyone lives in harmony. Tang Yuan was reprimanded by her for a while, so he put the VR on his head in embarrassment, and muttered with great reluctance, that's right, you don't need anything, you have everything you want. I don't believe you are all like this. What kind of disputes can arise? If there is a note, it may just be sitting in the office all day long, playing with mobile phones and waiting to clock in after get off work. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. Esha reached out and pressed somewhere on the wall, and a panel full of buttons popped up, which looked like a keyboard. She clicked on it for a long time, and then it's terrifying. After he put on this VR, he found miraculously that his sight was not blocked, as if he was wearing nothing, and he could still see the things in front of him, and when Esha didn't know what he was typing on the keyboard, he saw, his body slowly disappeared, and it's not the kind of disappearance that gradually becomes transparent, but slowly decomposes into small golden light spots from the bottom of the feet. Damn it, you're killing people. He yelled, but found that he couldn't move anymore. I'll just say it. Since I came to your world, my heart seems to have widened a lot. What do you say? So you believe it? Sure enough, you want to cheat me. To put it bluntly, it's because I am some kind of first-generation will, right? You want to disassemble me for research, right? Is there still time for me to make a will? The decomposed colorless help me bring the small crystal block and the soul of an adventurer to Lin Xiaoyu, and say that this is my breakup fee for her. Shut up. Esha yelled at him, and the movement of his hands didn't stop at all. You deserve to suffer if you knocked wrong. Oh. Then Tang Yuan watched as his body was disintegrated little by little into tiny golden particles floating in the air, and then tiny particles with more intense golden light emerged from nowhere, reshaping a new body little by little. It was exactly the same as when it was disassembled, it was just that the disassembly process was played backwards. Finally, Esha clapped his hands on the big keyboard. Okay, it's over, you can take that thing off. Hearing this, Tang Yuan took off the VR on his head, then looked up and down his whole body, and touched it back and forth again. What's going on? I don't feel any difference at all. There must be a difference. Your current body belongs to, in layman's terms, your current body already belongs to God's body. If you want to use the power of will in the future, the degree of fit will be even higher. That is to say, you won't have any problems when using the power that should belong to you now. Do you want to try to do a small test first? Esha took out a small cardboard box. This is a baby just born. When the little wills don't know how to control their own power, they use it to test and strengthen their grasp of power. By the way, it is similar to the flashcards of ordinary children. Although you are quite old, do you want to use it? Try it? Anyway, there is nothing to be ashamed of. Your face is already lost. Fuck, that's fine, just try it. To be continued. Chapter 178. Literacy cards are really fun. You have almost become what a first-generation will should be, but I guess you don't know anything about your own power. Esha shook the small cardboard box in his hand. Let's play with this, for you very helpful. Although according to her, this thing is used by the young will of the world to practice their own strength, similar to the flashcards used by mortal children, but even if Tang Yuan feels that playing this is very embarrassing, he has nothing to do. The simplest practice. Okay, let's play. He nodded. After hearing his answer, Esha opened the small cardboard box and poured out a large stack of cards from it. It looked as if they were really literacy cards. She picked up the top card and handed it to Tang Yuan. Okay, since you are not a child, then I don't need to talk to you in a coaxing tone. Just click. Start with the most simple start. What can you see from this card? Tang Yuan took the card and looked at it. There was a big red circle on it, a yellow box inside the circle, and a blue triangle inside the box. He said the 3 patterns he saw. Esha nodded. Very good, you can see the 3rd level at a glance. What's inside the triangle? There's something inside, take a closer look. He continued to stare at the card, habitually trying to turn on the serious mode, but found that the serious mode was gone, and his mental power seemed to be fully activated at any time, and he seemed to ignore consumption at all, so he had to say this god is really capable. So he tried to inject a little spiritual power into the eyes, and it looked like his eyes glowed golden again from the outside. A 4th pattern is seen inside, a black cross. Circles, crosses, squares, triangles. Sony's business is really getting bigger and bigger. He said, there's a black fork in the innermost part. Very good, the cognition is at the level of a normal adult. Esha threw the card aside, and drew a stroke on a small list next to it. I said, so what, is there any reason for this thing? Why didn't I see the 4th pattern at all when I didn't look carefully just now? Tang Yuan asked. It's very simple, because these things are hidden. Although in the secondary void, that is, in the world of this god, many things cannot be hidden, even your main god watch with visible permissions set. It can be seen by your 2 little followers, but with a little bit of manipulation, you can still hide some things in a conceptual way. For example, this cognitive test card requires the will to fully invest in it. Only by concentrating can you see the pattern on it. Generally, if you are young, you can only see the outermost big red circle, and if you don't even know how to play, you can only see a blank card. Do you understand? Tang Yuan nodded in bewilderment. Understood, it sounds amazing. So my cognitive ability is considered qualified. Well, although the cognitive ability is not top-notch, it is already qualified, even higher than ordinary wills, and can see the color of the pattern, but the innermost fork is not black, it is actually green. Think, do you know what intelligence is related to? He shook his head. Hey, that's about the concepts that exist in the world. If you can only see the big red circle at the 1st level, you can only see the outermost concepts from the things in the world, such as name, occupation, general characteristics, and the like, and they cannot be changed. The more you can see, the deeper the concept level you can see in things, and you can see many innermost concepts later, just like 3-type source, D-type existence state, and so on. Well, you haven't been to school so you may not understand what I said, but since you don't intend to create the world, then you can be illiterate if you are literate. Tang Yuan felt that his 3 views had been ruined again. Why do the supreme gods still have to go to school? Didn't it mean that God, the old man, spent 7 days telling a world with just a single mouth, like let there be light or something? Even if it is not as easy as the old man god, Pangu has never read the book, he just split the chaos with an axe. How simple and rude it is. Hearing Tang Yuan's question, Esha laughed twice. Why do you feel so sarcastic? If creating the world is really that easy, I'd be really happy, laughing while standing, laughing while walking, and laughing while sitting up in the middle of the night. She stretched out her fingers and tapped Tang Yuan's forehead lightly. Computers are quite complicated, right? They have to be manufactured by professionals, and it may not be possible to do it with the strength of only one person. Of course I'm talking about mortals, and some low-level things in terms of will are of course it's just a casual sentence, but if it rises to the world level, it is equivalent to a computer in the eyes of ordinary people to a will. It is not very difficult to learn to operate, but what we have to learn is not just operation, what you have to learn is to create a world that meets the standards. I will give you a basic script here, can you continue to write on it according to the format, and write me a world management rule? Tang Yuan shook his head. It's not that he couldn't do it, but because he couldn't understand it at all. So that's it. It's easy to create 1 or 2 items at random, but if you want to create a world, everything in it has to be done by yourself. Think about it, in a world how many kinds of things are there? Although sometimes many things of the same state of existence can be directly deduced by a formula, but the workload is still very large. It's okay if you don't understand. Anyway, you have a 720 in your mind, so that thing is completely because the first generation of wills were too lazy to make it for convenience, a complete fool-like operation. You just need to pay power or resources for what you want, and the process of creation is completely handed over to 720. But I still have to test your basic ability. Just take it as. Esha hesitated for a moment, then smiled with her lips pursed. Oh, let's take it as a teacher's sense of responsibility. Hey, you are still wearing a white coat. Is it really okay to change from a doctor to teacher? No problem, at least I'm wearing black silk like my teacher. You can put it down. All the teachers I saw when I grew up are all ants. Even if they dare to wear black silk, I still dare not look at them. Esha coughed dryly, and took out the second card. Let's continue. This time is to test the strength of your willpower. In layman's terms, it is to test whether your divine power is strong or weak. Did you see it? There is a gradual change from black at the bottom to white at the top on this card, and there is a floating red bar in the middle. Where is this red bar in your eyes? Point it out to me. Tang Yuan scratched his head and pointed out the position of the red line he saw, which was the pure white part at the top of the card. Well, it is indeed the first generation of willpower. The strength of willpower is perfect. Esha drew another stroke on the small list, and took out the next card, the third card. Let's test your strength attributes. Do you see if there is something spinning on this card? If it is a small red flower, it means that your power is biased towards creation, and if it is a small gear, it means your power is biased towards manipulation. Is this easy to understand? What did you see? Gear. Okay, in comparison, you are better at controlling concepts than creating them. It is very suitable for your next job of eroding the world. Then continue. The next card. Just like that, the two of them played the card game for an unknown amount of time, and Tang Yuan finished playing with a box of cards like this. Esha put away the card, looked at the list in his hand, and nodded. Well, very good, you are fully qualified. Except that your knowledge level is still at the level of a mortal. You are already a qualified will in all aspects already. You said you once turned an old tree into a young one? That's good, it means that you have learned how to control concepts. If you practice more in the future, maybe you can bring the dead back to life? When you can do that, even if you haven't been to school, you've already caught up to the level of an ordinary will. Tang Yuan maintained a confused expression the whole time, and nodded. Then, Doctor, can I still be saved? Pick it up. Next one. To be continued. Chapter 179. The Lord God is a retarded AI. Pick it up. Next one. Oh. So after Tang Yuan knew that he was hopeless, he left with peace of mind and went back to Yida's ward next door. A group of people are chatting with Yida. The lineup is really chaotic. The 6th generation will, the 9th generation will, demons, humans, and monsters. It is hard to imagine how this group of people can find a common language together. Yes, but when Tang Yuan returned to the ward, he saw them chatting enthusiastically. He couldn't help but muttered in his heart, women are just confusing, and then walked over and knocked Liu Yun. I'm back on. Seeing him coming back, Lin Xiaoyu leaned over. Is the female doctor fun? It's fun, it's really cool. Tang Yuan replied casually, found a chair to sit down, and then started to look at his watch. Esha had refurbished his watch before, and then went to the next door to fix it. The body has been reshaped, and now he has to see what his watch has become. Note, because 720 and the main guard have been merged, all future dialog boxes will be unified into equals exchange equals transaction equals transfer equals other functions equals. Well, there is still no change in general, but when Tang Yuan clicked into the exchange interface, he found that although the body enhancement can still be exchanged, it shows that it is invalid for him, and he can only sell it to others in the future. Why? Maybe it's because my current body doesn't need to be strengthened anymore. In terms of the body of a god, no matter how you say it, it has to be invulnerable to be worthy of the title of god. Tang Yuan looked at the exchange list again, habitually looking at the most expensive items at the top, but when he saw the items inside, a black question mark appeared on his face again. Chaos bloodline, false, the origin of the universe, all things come from chaos. After redeeming this bloodline, you will be immune to any damage except the void exchange price. 5,000 billion resource points. What the hell? Question mark. He has seen this bloodline before, and he was jealous, but he clearly remembered at that time that there did not seem to be a false word on the name. You must know that no matter what, if you add a false, Although it seems inexplicably more compelling, anyone with an IQ knows that it is definitely not as good as the original version. Similarly, adding the word true is the most compelling, and it must be a good thing. For example, the redemption of the real old horse. The effect is probably to make all the hostile units in the map offline instantly and then permanently banned. Ouch, this is not bad. Looking at the introduction of this bloodline, Tang Yuan found that the introduction was still the same as before, and the price had not changed, only the name was added with a false. He couldn't help squinting at Ida and asked, "Sister, what about you? The most expensive thing in the exchange list. Chaos Blood, why did you change your name when you came to me?" With a little embarrassment on her face, Ida replied in a low voice, "Anyway, it's impossible for a reincarnated person to raise enough money to buy such an expensive item. The name and introduction are just my nonsense. The introduction of the chaotic bloodline is all the same. It is almost comparable to the will of the world. How could I have the ability to casually make this bloodline and exchange it for others? It's just a lie. There are actually some fake goods in the main god." Tang Yuan was in a cold sweat when he heard that, and Lin Xiaoyu next to him was directly ruined, and began to doubt life. "That's right. In fact, even if someone really exchanged this bloodline, I just strengthened him to the strongest level in the entire universe and then gave him a higher authority. How could there really be a chaotic bloodline?" Ida said embarrassedly, "Brother, don't you really believe it? Although the information in yours has been independent, it is obviously a copy of the exchange list I made before, so the real effect it must be different from the introduction. Chaos blood does not actually exist." Tang Yuan felt that this majestic world's will was so unscrupulous. "I didn't know what to say for a while, so I could only sigh. It's okay if it doesn't exist. Anyway, just lie to people. Anyway, there are definitely not many people who can really touch this level, so I say this is the blood of chaos. Well, probably no one will suspect. Hey! Damn you, you are fake." Lin Xiaoyu grabbed his clothes and yelled, "I'm from here too. It's not easy for reincarnators. How come there are fakes in the Lord God?" Listening to her questioning, Tang Yuan shrugged his shoulders and spread his hands. "Blame me." Then he ignored Lin Xiaoyu, patted her on the head, and sat down to continue looking at this brand new watch. The general content remains the same, even the reward mechanism of the task is still the same. Tang Yuan now understands that the so-called reward for completing the task is actually because, for the reincarnation world, things outside the world, reincarnation, interfere according to a certain theory. The progress of this world is chance and cause and effect. When the reincarnation destroys the original process in the world, for example, Bamami's head should be lost in the 3rd episode, but a certain reincarnation save her. In this case, the plot will be changed here, and the whole world will enter another line. The original world line of Bamami is dead will collapse and be restored to the most basic resources. Part of it will be recycled by this world, and a small part will be taken away by reincarnators. This is the truth about task rewards, so the more difficult the task, the more rewards, because the more difficult the task, the greater the plot changes, the greater the deviation of the world line, the more parts that collapse, and the more resources many. And, there is no main god to take a cut from it, and there is no need to worry about Ida. Tang Yuan can now justifiably ruin the plot. And the so-called exchange. In fact, the effects of the main god in 720 are similar. It is similar to a manufacturing machine, and the reincarnator exchanges things in it. In fact, he puts the obtained resources into the exchange system, and then the exchange system converts these resources or converted into the same amount of items. Tang Yuan's exchange list has been discounted before. In fact, it is completely pitting Ida to death, because the resources needed to exchange items are fixed. After the discount, Tang Yuan saves it. The discount part is actually borne by Ida. So this girl didn't know what kind of bad luck she had, and she got involved in Tang Yuan's mess. Tang Yuan looked at the recycling interface again. This time it is really awesome. The recycling system will no longer have any restrictions. Before saying that it is necessary to recycle complete items through a legal means, that is completely forced by the Lord God. Reincarnation makes it more difficult, because whether an item is complete or not is completely relative. For example, a chicken leg. You can say that the chicken leg is a complete chicken leg, but from the perspective of a chicken, it is not a complete chicken leg at all but an incomplete chicken. So now Tang Yuan can ignore this cheating restriction, and there is no longer any talk about whether it is complete or not, whether it was obtained through a legitimate way, and there will no longer be any talk about spoils of war. Now he can recycle whatever he wants. When you are in a bad mood, you can even directly grab a living person and recycle it. However, this recycling system still has some small flaws. That is, it cannot completely recycle the things you throw in. For example, let's take one person as an example. This person includes there are too many things, such as dozens of caddies of meat, a pile of bones, decades of life, a few points of charm, dozens of points of IQ, dozens of points of strength, dozens of points of agility, points of luck, a soul, and a few pounds of shit. Well, forget it. If a person can be completely recycled, the resources that can be obtained are still very objective. But Tang Yuan learned from the instructions that if the thing to be recycled contains too many types of resources, it can only be recovered from the inside. Choose one of the resources to recycle, and the others will be destroyed. This can only be said to be a technical problem, but it is actually very conscientious. At least Tang Yuan can freely choose which part to recycle. Unlike before, he heard Lin Xiaoyu say that he got a break through legitimate channels. The dropped golden sword can be recovered, even if it is incomplete because it is a legitimate way, but the reminder for recovery is not gold, but damaged long sword. The Lord got pissed. This is simply cheating. A broken golden sword is still such a large piece of gold. Calculated according to the damaged long sword, only 50 yuan was given. However, when the golden sword was melted down and turned into gold brick before recycling, the prompt became gold brick again, and the price soared instantly. The main god is simply mentally retarded. Exclamation mark. It's good now. Tang Yuan said that from now on, this main god has been completely integrated with 720. There will be no restrictions at all, and he can use it for whatever he wants. To be continued. Chapter 180. I have only been on one ship. Just when Tang Yuan was holding his watch and looking more and more excited, Esha finished packing the things in the next ward and came back here. She said to Tang Yuan, "Have you finished reading? After reading it, hurry up and prepare to leave. Although Yuda's condition has stabilized, it is best to cure her as soon as possible." "Well, it's over." Tang Yuan nodded and turned off his watch. Esha took out a USB flash drive and threw it into his hand. "Take this, and plug it into your watch." Tang Yuan looked at the USB flash drive, looked at it, and asked, "What is this?" "The new plugin. Your 720 can only plunder resources, but it can't be used to plunder the power of the world, so I just temporarily made a small plugin. With this, your 720 can strip and save the power of the world. Get up, and just hand it over to Ida when the time comes." These supreme gods are simply too scary. Tang Yuan thought so. After searching for a long time on the watch, he finally found a small USB port. He had never found such a thing on the watch before. Put the disc is inserted, and then the watch screen lights up, and a progress bar pops up on it, and the progress bar runs out soon, and then he prompts, "Installation is complete, please safely remove the hardware." Fuck it. Tang Yuan said that he had never used a USB flash drive in his life to delete it safely, so he just tore it off and returned the USB flash drive to Esha. This thing is automatic. As long as it is an unowned world, the plugin will run automatically. Over time, the power will be slowly stripped from the world. Esha explained, "When the time comes, you can use this power, bring it back to Ida. Of course, you can also absorb this power yourself if necessary. After all, how should I put it, we will not pursue power, but if you grow up as a human being, you may think it will be closer to humans, so there is nothing wrong with wanting to become stronger." "Oh." Tang Yuan nodded and closed the watch again. Esha sat next to Ida and peeled another apple for her, and continued, "Also, you exchanged some messy abilities before, and I sorted them out when I reshaped your body. Your abilities, there is not one missing, but in fact I have replaced some of them. For example, the gills behind your ears are really permeable. I modified the concept for you. Although you are still breathing, in fact you don't need oxygen to survive anymore." "Oh." Tang Yuan said that he had almost forgotten that there was a pair of gills behind his ears, so if they were gone, they would be gone, since they were just for underwater breathing anyway. "Also, your psychic bloodline. I also adjusted it for you. In fact, what you are using now is no longer mental power, but the power of will, which can be directly called willpower. Don't get too entangled in this, just treat it as the spiritual power used by the gods. Anyway, although there are different levels, the nature of the two is quite similar. Also, yours can tear apart the space. You shouldn't be able to open too big of a crack before, right? That's because your strength and body fit are not enough, and now it's no problem, as long as you're not afraid of accidents, you can open as big as you want. Well, thank you. Tang Yuan felt that the doctor's elder sister had really helped him too much, and he was still quite embarrassed, so he thanked her anyway. It's nothing. Maybe it's an occupational disease. I like to help anyone I see who needs help. Esha waved his hand. Okay, the patient needs to rest. You all get out of here. Okay, Zalubia responded with a smile when she heard that the doctor started to chase people away, and she pulled everyone away from the ward. Oh, that's right. Ida. Tang Yuan turned his head and shouted at Ida before leaving, if you really feel that you can't hold on, then stop the progress of our world. Anyway, I don't have anything to lose. The big deal is that I don't go back for a while. That's all. You have a good rest, and then I will pay you back what I owe you. Ida nodded blankly, watching his back disappear outside the door. Now that Ida has been asked to suspend the progress of his own world, Tang Yuan is naturally unable to return to his home for the time being, and everyone returns to Zalubia's home in Anru's car. By the way, Unrui was beaten up by Zalubia, and she drove very slowly, for herself, on the way back this time, and everyone finally came back safely. So, my sister, let's discuss something. Tang Yuan whispered to Zalubia, I'm thinking about finding a place to live here. Think about it, I have a home and can't go back, and it's impossible. Living in your house. You are a big girl after all, right? So I have to find a way to find a place for my family to settle down. Oh, this one? It's easy, big brother, come with me. Hearing Tang Yuan's words, Zalubia smiled, and pulled him out of the room to the big open space next to her house. Tang Yuan looked at this open space, because the secondary void is too wide, and it is still a flat land, so building houses can be built as you like, especially after hearing what Zalubia said, the second time the land in the super void is infinite, so when these people build houses, they just find a random place and start messing around, regardless of the site and the light in this place, everything is worthless, including the site. How about here? Zalubia stomped her feet, pointed to the large open space in front of her, and asked Tang Yuan, it's just next to my house, so it's convenient to visit when the time comes, and I've wanted to discuss this with you a long time ago. It's okay, you are still a Wu anyway, and you are still from the first generation. Strictly speaking, this secondary void is your real home, so when I was in the hospital, I was thinking about letting you find a place to build a nest. Oh, just here? That's fine. Tang Yuan looked around at the large open space. It's really quite big, and you can't see the end at a glance. Zalubia's home is far away from many people. Where there's open space here and there, what a lot, if it's on Earth, especially Great China. Haha, this land belongs to the country, only you are allowed to build a house, and no matter how rich you are, if it doesn't matter, you dare to build such a big house. Question mark, be careful of the crime of unknown origin of giving you a huge amount of property, unless you are really capable of explaining clearly the origins of all your property, every penny and dime. Otherwise this charge will be as hot as a soldering iron to anyone who puts it on. Cough, it's getting farther. Tang Yuan was also very satisfied with the site, so he continued to ask, that's okay, let's just stay here, what's the next step? Should I contact a construction company or something? Brother, can't you try to build a house yourself? What are your resources used for? It doesn't take much to build a house. Zalubia asked with her dead fish eyes. After she said this, Tang Yuan realized that he was once again limited by mortal thoughts, so he turned on his watch and began to search for a while. Sister, let me ask first. Is it enough as long as it is a place to live? Did it say it has to be a house? He looked at the very conspicuous steel fortress in the distance and didn't know who lived in it. He turned his head and asked Zalubia. Zalubia nodded and said, that's right, there aren't so many messy rules in this place. As long as you don't feel bad about living here, you can build a grass shed. That's fine, that's fine. Multifunctional colonial ship, the products of the extreme development of technological civilization in a single universe, used for interstellar immigration, has a certain degree of combat effectiveness, and can be upgraded exchange price, resource points. Planet Eco Simulation Cabin, the colony ship is upgraded and built in the residential area. The cabin environment is simulated as that of any planet. It is equipped with an artificial gravity engine, giving you the enjoyment of returning home. This upgrade requires 50 resource points. Warship Armament I, colonial ship upgrade, Upgrade the original civilian armament to military destroyer armament, equipped with 4 main guns, 8 secondary guns, and 16 self-controlled guns. This upgrade requires, resource points. Warship armament II. Upgrade the destroyer armament to cruiser armament, strengthen the shell material, and install 2 giant cannons, 2 main cannons, 4 secondary cannons, and 8 self-controlled cannons. This upgrade requires 75 resource points. Battleship armament III. Upgrade cruiser armament to aircraft carrier armament, add 3D printed drone nest, shield generator, and remote black hole generator. This upgrade requires 100 resource points. Warship armament IV. Upgrade the aircraft carrier armament to the flagship armament, add shield generator and 2 remote black hole generators. This upgrade requires, resource points. Warship armament V. The flagship armament has been further upgraded, and it is impossible to determine the level of the ship. Presumably, only the Emperor's personal conquest will cause such a terrifying warship to appear. Add number 14 shield generator, 2 long-range black hole generators, 2 there are space-tearing light generators, 4 cannons, 8 main cannons, 16 secondary cannons, and 32 self-controlled cannons. This upgrade requires, resource points. By the way, what do you want to exchange this for, Rebel? Memory metal, attachment upgrades. When there is sufficient energy, the ship's facilities will be slowly and automatically repaired. This upgrade requires, resource points. And, you really want to rebel? Tang Yuan ignored the main god's complaint at the end, exchanged for a battleship and bought a lot of upgrades without blinking an eye. Finally, a nearly 1,000-meter-long giant interstellar warship appeared out of thin air, and hit the ground with a loud bang. Hey, this is my home, how do you feel? Does it look really fucking domineering? Let me tell you, this is the romance of a man. Tang Yuan pointed at the terrifyingly huge battleship, and his mouth was full shouted. He. Zilubia looked at the battleship without any fluctuations in her heart. Come on, old girl, do me another favor. Tang Yuan led her to the inside of the battleship with a teleportation. Since a map was attached to her mind when she was exchanging, Tang Yuan was not worried that it would happen. Getting lost in it, he took Zilubia all the way to the power room, pointed to the huge ball floating in the center of the power room, and said, Sister, look, where's this ship? Where is it? It's all good, but the energy consumption is a bit high, and I'm worried that I can't afford it. Can you do me a favor and turn on her light? That is, help me change the concept. Don't ask for unlimited energy, just need to turn on the power consumption. It will be fine if it can be reduced a little. Does it work? My God, brother, do you know what kind of existence your ship would be if it were placed in the ordinary world? Sylvia looked at the interior of the battleship, pulling her hair frantically. You are going to erode the world. You are not going to destroy the world. Well, so, I put this boat here specially for use as a house, and I usually live in it. How about it? Tang Yuan looked terrified. I really need to use this boat when. To be honest, I don't really hope that there will be a situation where she will be used in battle. Alice. Zilubia shook her head helplessly, stretched out a hand towards the energy core floating in midair, closed her eyes and remained silent for a moment. Okay, you can be a disaster. This ship is not a big deal in terms of will, but not much. The few black hole generators on you can destroy most civilizations. Brother, if you decide to use this, you have to think carefully first. Yes, I understand. In fact, it's more fun for me to make this thing out. Pretending to be pretending, do you understand? Tang Yuan led Zilubia to the bridge again. Pressing the button on the command platform turned on the AI that comes with the battleship. First start, binding voice, fingerprint, iris, DNA. Binding is complete, please set the captain's name. Tang Yuan. Complete, welcome, Captain Tang Yuan, please name this ship. Name it? Hey, what kind of name should I choose? My sister, can you tell me? Tang Yuan looked at Zilubia beside him. She tilted her head and waved her hands. Forget it, I'm really not very good at naming names. Oh, forget it, come on, it's only a boat anyway, and my name is messed up. Try to hit too. From today, this boat will be called Tyrant. Very good. Tyrant. Let's go. Captain. My gender is more feminine. Does the name Tyrant not suit me? The AI said hesitantly. Why isn't it called the Empress? Fuck off. Oh, I rely on you. This AI is quite smart. Can you still talk back to me? Can you name yourself? Tang Yuan put his face on the big screen of the AI. I am the captain, you have to listen to me. After seeing your performance, maybe I can give you a special name for this core AI, but the name of this ship is decided just like that, Tyrant, don't change it. Yes, Captain. The AI replied helplessly. If she had any face, she must have a bitter expression now, right? To be continued. Chapter 181. This AI is a bit fun. The Tyrant, inside the eco-simulation cabin. I don't know where this spaceship came from. It may be the original creation of the main god space. It really deserves to be called the product of the extreme development of technological civilization in a single universe. The spaceship is nearly 1,000 meters long, which is considered huge, but when you actually unfold the internal structure diagram of the spaceship, you will know that the space inside the spaceship is actually several kilometers from the bow to the stern. Exclamation mark. Therefore, the entire ecological simulation chamber is also very huge. Tang Yuan adjusted the parameters in it to the Earth environment, so it was a good season for birds and flowers. I don't even know how this simulation chamber is made. In a few seconds, a large piece of grass and small forests grew out of the dirt. This is real, it's not holographic projection or something. It's simply black technology. Then Tang Yuan built a wooden house on this muddy land full of green grass, which is not too big, only about 100 square meters. And his approach was unanimously complained by everyone. Brother, you are awesome. After building such a big warship, in the end, I still built a wooden house in the ecological cabin. Isn't this superfluous? Zilubia looked at Tang Yuan and inserted wooden stakes with telekinesis, standing next to him and said. Unrui, Lin Xiaoyu, Liu Yun, and Ji Luo nodded in agreement. You don't understand, do you? Build a house in the spaceship. If something happens and I need to drive the spaceship out, I can continue to live at home. I can take my home with me when I go out. Isn't it great? Tang Yuan replied. Countless pieces of wood appeared out of thin air in front of him, and he controlled them to insert them into the ground, and then there were a lot of nails to nail the wood together. Soon the walls, floors, and roofs were all built by Tang Yuan. You guys wait outside first, I'll go in and wax, and then install the furniture. Tang Yuan said, and walked into the wooden house, and then there was a tinkling sound inside. Liu Yun scratched Ji Luo. Well, what did the boss make of this thing? Why does it look like a big iron bump from the outside, but it is such a beautiful hillside when you come in? Ji Luo didn't understand either. She shook her head, and the two monsters from ancient times looked around in bewilderment. Lin Xiaoyu took out a wrench, and felt an urge to take the spaceship apart and study it, but at least Zalubia held her back. Although this ship was not expensive to Tang Yuan, he was very interested in it. The love shown for this ship was from the bottom of his heart. If Lin Xiaoyu broke it, he would have to go crazy. At this time, a light blue translucent 3D holographic projection appeared next to everyone. It was a tall, dignified, heroic big sister-like character. The style of clothing she was wearing had never been seen before, but it gave off a military uniform a feeling of. As soon as this holographic projection appeared, he shook the small shawl on his body, and stood at attention to everyone. Welcome to the Tyrant, I am the core AI of this ship. Zilubia looked at the suddenly appearing AI with a confused face. Just as she opened her mouth to say something, Lin Xiaoyu next to her screamed strangely and rushed towards the holographic projection. Damn, there is a holographic projection here. Projection, where is the source? This is really high technology. Coach. I want to learn. She pounced on the AI, then passed through and gnawed a mouthful of grass. Since you have said that I am a holographic projection, why did you bump into me? The AI said blankly, if there is anything you don't understand, you can ask me, except for some military secrets. I will do my best to answer your questions. Well, forget it. Zilubia waved her hand. Unrui and I know more than you, so there is no need to ask you. The main purpose of coming here is to accompany the elder brother. Really, I'm really sorry. AI said with his hands folded on his stomach, bowed to Unrui and Zilubia, then turned around and asked Liu Yun and Ji Luo, then do these two want anything? Do you know? Yes. Liu Ran raised his hand. Where's the place to eat? Ji Luo stretched out his hand and tapped him on the head. Shame on you. Why do you ask where the cafeteria is as soon as you open your mouth? Then she looked at the AI and asked, your whole body is transparent. Are you an undead? So the ancients were really difficult to serve, and the AI approached Lin Xiaoyu expressionlessly. Don't you want to know where my projection source is? It's the phenomenon of photon resonance. Huh? Lin Xiaoyu was stunned. Who is Athenos? Also, shouldn't the photon resonate? How come it still resonates? It is indeed a resonance. Maybe this is absurd to the knowledge you currently have, but tens of thousands of years ago, your book also said that the sun revolved around the earth before tens of thousands of years. Well, Lin Xiaoyu realized that she was only an ancient person in front of this AI, so she joined the trembling camp of Liu Yun and Ji Luo. The AI looked around and found that no one wanted to talk to him anymore, so he tilted his head expressionlessly and disappeared in place. At this time, Tang Yuan also came out of the wooden house, and took out a huge wooden door from behind his buttocks, and installed it at the entrance and exit of the wooden house, tried the door lock, then turned around and clapped his hands at everyone. It's finished. How about it? I'm still very talented in architecture. Give me a detailed drawing and I'll be able to build such a house in such a short time. Wooden house. Original ecology. At this time, he saw Lin Xiaoyu, Liu Yun, and Ji Luo huddled together in the distance, and asked, "What are you three doing?" Zilubia came over and said, "It's nothing." The three of them were hide a bit. Your AI's words are too offensive. AI? Are you talking about the AI of the tyrant? Tang Yuan blinked, wondering, why did she come here? Shouldn't she just stay at the console with a bitter face? As soon as he finished speaking, he heard a voice from behind. "I'm sorry, Captain, but I am everywhere within the scope of this ship." As soon as Tang Yuan turned his head, he saw a light blue translucent figure, and reflexively took a step back. Fuck. Who are you? It's our first meeting. Captain, I am the core AI of this ship, please give me a name. The AI bowed slightly, speaking in a respectful tone. The name I recommend is Empress. Get out. Why are you so entangled in this name? Tang Yuan wanted to knock on the AI's head, but his hand passed through. He looked at his hand in embarrassment, and then continued with a dry cough. Calling you temporarily as an AI, I will think of a better name for you based on your performance in the future. Anyway, don't even think about Empress. This ship is called the Tyrant, and you are called an Empress, so what am I? The Supreme Emperor. Lin Xiaoyu leaned over and muttered in a low voice. Duang Yao Xiao, you actually beat your wife. Someone is domestic violence. Who is your wife? Ugh, who is your wife? Little girl, obediently build a Gundam, don't take advantage of me. To be continued, short. Chapter 182. The Eight Corners are lost. After the wooden house was built, Tang Yuan greeted everyone to go in with a smile, and planned to have a meal inside during the period. If you want to eat, you can only go to the canteen in the living area outside the ecological cabin. Tang Yuan went to the cafeteria, and when he went to order food, he saw the core AI standing at the window of the cafeteria, and said to him expressionlessly, "Captain, give me a name." "Don't do it, give me the menu." Yes, Captain. One side of the wall was opened, and a humanoid faceless robot ran out from the inside. He took out a menu and handed it out. There are such robots everywhere on the spaceship, which are similar to the existence of staff, although they have their own thinking. But the IQ is extremely low, and they can't communicate at all. They are all controlled by the core AI of the battleship. Of course, if Tang Yuan gives orders, they will obey Tang Yuan's orders first. Tang Yuan took the menu and saw that it was full of home-cooked dishes. He didn't bother to worry about why there was such a thing on the spaceship, so he ticked a few boxes and handed the menu to this man with a chef's hat on his head, the robot. This robot took the menu and ran to the background to work. Then the AI went straight through the cooking window, and approached him expressionlessly. "Captain, please give me a name." "Fuck, your AI is really enough. How can there be an AI like you? I was created by you, Captain, together with a tyrant, so maybe the way I am now is what you expect." The AI tilted his head expressionlessly and said, "Give me a name, Captain." Do it. Tang Yuan found a seat in the huge cafeteria with a broken face, sat down, and lit a cigarette with a dark face. "Captain, the cafeteria is a no-smoking area." "Shut up." "Yes." After a while, the robot wearing a chef's hat returned to the dining window with a large dinner plate and rang the bell. Tang Yuan ignored the AI and left the cafeteria with the food. He returned to the wooden house, put the food on the big wooden table, and yelled, "Everyone come down to eat." So a group of people ran down from upstairs and sat down around the wooden table. Tang Yuan looked around and asked, "Where's Locunculus?" "Where is Locunculus?" A shout came from upstairs, Boss. Why is the corridor on the second floor of this house branching? We're lost. It was a disgrace to raise such a fox. Tang Yuan ran upstairs with a murderous look on his face. After a while, he dragged Liu Yun down and said, Liu Yun, I think you might as well stay on the first floor from now on. Forget about going to sleep, you better not go to the second floor. I'm too lazy to take you down every time when I get lost again. I'll fix a private room for you on the first floor later, and you will be your concierge in the future bar. Okay boss. After the two of them sat on the table, everyone picked up their chopsticks and prepared to fight. Although Enru and Zalubia wills and customs are not very similar, they used to eat with a kind called hand-beak fingertips. Tang Yuan had seen them before, but this did not prevent them from eating with chopsticks, so Tang Yuan did not give them any special care, and treated them equally with chopsticks. But Tang Yuan looked back and forth, tugged at the fox ears on Liu Yun's head, and asked, Where's your star anise? Star anise? So what? Liu Yun held a bowl and thought for a while, then froze in place. Huh? Then he yelled upstairs, Anise. There was no response, and Liu Yun timidly whispered to Tang Yuan, Well, boss. I seem to have forgotten. Forgot what? Tang Yuan suddenly had a bad premonition. The star anise. We even forgot when we lost it. If you hadn't reminded us today, we might not have remembered it. The audience was silent. Where's your star anise? Tang Yuan grabbed Lucullus by the ear and started yelling. Oh my god, where's the star anise in our family? Liu Yun was also pulled by his ears and opened his mouth and yelled. Come on, don't eat this meal either. Tang Yuan told everyone to continue eating and leave them alone, then ran to the side with Lucullus, pressed his head and scolded him, You are really a good father. Awesome? My own children can be lost? Where is the last time you can remember seeing anise? When? It hurts, boss. Don't grab us. The last time I remember it was when I went shopping with Beijio in Marcus City. Marcus City? My god, you actually left your own child in the old world. Tang Yuan felt that this stupid fox really should be shocked. He pinched Liu Yun's ear, roaring, A fox with 9 tails. The Nord savages don't know anything. If they see such a little fox with 9 tails, why don't they catch it and sell it as a rare beast? It's okay to sell it, but I'm afraid which rich and powerful master bought the child and made a specimen. The specimen is not bad. I'm afraid I don't even have to make a specimen, so I just peel the skin and make it into a scarf. You are such a dick, don't be a father. And Wasabi's divorce counts. The more Liu Yun was told by Tang Yuan, the more scared he felt in his heart. Although the star anise was given to him by Tang Yuan, and Wasabi had never seen the star anise before, if she knew that she had lost such a small child, then still won the stage. Listening to Tang Yuan's words, Lin Xiaoyu seemed to understand what was going on. She finished eating the rice in 2 or 3 bites, and as soon as she dropped the chopsticks, she leaned over and asked, What's wrong? Liu Yun lost the star anise. I said, why didn't you take a good look at it when you took Lucullus to Marcus City? Tang Yuan pointed at Lin Xiaoyu and scolded again, It's okay for Lucullus to be an idiot for such a big little fox. Why can't you even watch it? Lin Xiaoyu waved her hand helplessly. How would I know? In the past few days I was immersed in the research of dwarven technology, and when I came out of the ruins, I hadn't seen the star anise. The child was sent to you, and then I forgot about it. Well, let's talk about the presence of the star anise. Zalubia has been listening to them talking about Marcus City and dwarf ruins and so on, and realized that they are talking about their own world, so she also finished a meal with a few mouthfuls, and finally licked her mouth. There were 2 pieces of braised pork stuffed in it, and the chopsticks were thrown away. What are you talking about? What's wrong with Marcus City? I seem to have heard something about missing anise. What is anise? It's a little fox. I exchanged it from the main god, that is, I made it. Anyway, it's a cute little fox. It's quite smart and can already understand human speech. Tengen Balabala said to Zarubiya said, in the end, I shouldn't have given the child to Liu Yun, who is mentally retarded. That guy can get lost in the middle of the night looking for the toilet. With this IQ, he dares to take the child? I guess the star anise is already in danger. Although the shabby place in Marcus City has been rectified a lot, it is still very messy. Maybe some beggar will catch it and roast it, and the fur can be sold for a little money. Damn it, star anise. You are miserable. Liu Yun was too anxious to speak now, His 6 big tails were dangling around and almost turned into an electric fan. He bit his handkerchief and yelled at Tang Yuan, "Boss, what should we do now? What else can I do?" "Looking for a child." Tang Yuan hit him on the head angrily, turned around and asked Zelubia, "Sister, what can you do?" Zelubia tilted her head, "Wandering in my world? That's fine, I'll check the historical records." "Okay, I'm sorry to bother you, sister. I'll spend money and ask Factory B to make you a 6K high-definition collector's edition when Loudon 16 comes out." Zelubia nodded, closed her eyes and fell silent. Everyone stared at her with bated breath, not daring to make a sound, especially Liu Yun, who was so anxious that her race was about to change, like a monkey. He didn't dare to cry out, for fear of disturbing her. After a while, she opened her eyes, with a weird expression on her face, and asked Tang Yuan, "Does it have 9 tails? Did you get lost while shopping with Liu Yun?" "That's right." Tang Yuan gave Liu Yun a fierce look, and replied, "That's fine, I'll show you something first." Zelubia fumbled for a mobile phone from her bosom, pulled out a line from the mobile phone and put it in her mouth, said inarticulately, "The general process is like this, you can see for yourself." Everyone moved their heads in front of the phone screen in unison, but Liu Yun was a step behind, being squeezed out by the crowd and unable to see. On the screen is the scene in Makarth City, and 6 of them are sitting with anise on their shoulders, and 2 foxes are wandering around the vegetable market in Makarth City. After wandering around for a while, Beijiao suddenly sneezed, and a faint blue flame spewed out from its nose. Then it scratched Leocunculus, and whispered a few words. "Woo." "What?" Liu Yun picked it up and stared at its face. "It's too cold to sleep?" "It's not okay. We foxes don't hibernate, and this place is so cold all year round. You can't sleep like this all year round, right? Otherwise, I'll take you to the roof of the Debella Temple to bask in the sun, where the sun is nice and warm." Octagon nodded. So Leocunculus ran to a relatively remote place in the Debella Temple, took the anise and climbed to the roof, put the anise aside, and the 2 foxes became dazed. I don't know how long it took before Liu Yun heard Ji Luo's voice from the walkie-talkie hanging on his buttocks. "Hey, my sister-in-law asked you to help move something, come to the ruins quickly." "Oh, I got it, right now." Liu Yun replied, stood up and jumped off the roof, leaving the Debella Temple. Then, the star anise was just forgotten by him, forgotten. Zelubia put away her mobile phone and spread her hands. "Until now, that child is still sleeping on the roof of the temple. Don't worry, he's healthy, but just a little, how should I put it? Wait for me for a while, she brought it here and you'll know it when you see it." Tang Yuan smiled and nodded, watching her open a golden door and disappear in place. Then he raised his hand and knocked on Liu Yun. "What do you want?" Liu Yun knew she was wrong, and covered her head and dared not speak. To be continued. Is it short? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183. What in number 039 is wrong with you? Fox spirits refer to the names people call foxes after they have become monsters. Generally speaking, when talking about fox spirits, the first thing most people think of is a coquettish and enchanting girl with a big tail behind her ass. 9 tails. During the process of cultivating a vixen, as the power of the demon continues to increase, the number of tails will increase. When you have 9 tails, it is considered the end of your cultivation. At that time, the 9 tails fox has officially become an engod existence of counterbalance. And in another world of Pokemon, 9 tails refers to a kind of fire Pokemon. Their prototype is the 9-tailed demon fox from Chinese and Japanese legends. In the game, they can learn skills other than fire. In addition, it also includes some ghosts and superpowers. This design is to highlight the ominous image of the 9 tails. In the game, their race values are not outstanding, but they are very suitable for disrupting guerrilla tactics. If you use Hot Wind plus Mental Shock plus Meditation plus Hypnosis, you can cooperate with a teammate who is the main damage, doubles, or change hands with teammates after buffing the opponent. It is really cool to fight far away. What Tang Yuan wants to say is that he has seen a lot of fox spirits, and he has already experienced hundreds of battles. Not to mention Wasabi, 7 treasures and 6 ranunculus. 1 is proficient in housework, 1 is proficient in selling bears, and the other is proficient in selling cuteness and being beaten. Recently, he came an anise, solo cunculus's status as the #1 cutest pet is lost, only proficiency is left to be beaten. So, now that he has seen so many vixens, Tang Yuan said that he would not blink for any more vixens. Even if someone told him that Beijiao had transformed into a coquettish and enchanting girl one day, he would just keep a straight face. Sneered, huh, interesting. So, when Sylvia came back with a blonde lolly with 9 big tails dragging behind her buttocks and a layer of fox fur from nowhere, he tried to be as serious as the above-mentioned a sneer appeared on his face, but he found that he couldn't calm down no matter what. Old sister, where did you find this? He looked at the little lolly who was still snoring softly with her eyes closed and held by Sylvia, and asked with a calm face. Road. That's what I said, there are some small problems. I mean, here, you also saw it. Zilubia gently put the little lolly on the sofa, and smiled wryly at everyone. Tang Yuan ran to Edwina's side, squeezed her little hand, and asked, 4th generation, please explain to me, Tamriel is a vast land, and there are orcs, cats, lizards, and people all over the place. Fox people. Edwina also looked at the little lolly who was snoring and turned over on the sofa with 9 big tails dangling with a blank face, and said in a low voice, to be honest, I have seen a lot of foxes. But such a fox. I've only seen your little follower look like this before. Oh. Now the question is, who is this little sister? Tang Yuan looked around and asked everyone with a blank face, hey. Does any of you know who this guy is? Lin Xiaoyu sighed, stepped forward and kicked him, except the fact, this kid is Beijiao, he didn't run away. No, it's impossible, Beijiao is obviously a little fox, the little fox who likes to make me scratch my stomach. Tang Yuan looked at the little Lolita who was still sleeping soundly on the sofa, and cried out with a broken face. He said, this little vixen, I don't admit that she is an anise. You give me back the anise. Liu Yun also stood up and made up the knife. Boss, we still remember the smell, it really smells like star anise, yo. It really is destined to be a 9-tailed one after birth, and it has been able to change in just a few months. It's grown up. The octagon is great. After Tang Yuan heard Liu Yun's words, his whole body turned pale, and he hid in the corner of the wall and stopped talking. Lin Xiaoyu looked at him like that, muttered stupid, and ran to the side to sit and tinker with small parts. Jiluo scratched his head, ran to Tang Yuan's side, and said, Boss, didn't you say that you wanted Locunculus to adopt Beijiao and see if Beijiao can become a monster in the future? It seems to be successful, why are you unhappy? Tang Yuan Yu cried without tears, don't laugh at me if you tell me. Everyone nodded, say it, I won't laugh at you. So Tang Yuan said, I always thought Beijiao was a man. Everyone turned their backs and stopped looking at him, but started discussing. Zilubia pinched her chin and said, I guess the little guy said he wanted to sleep before because he was about to transform, so he wanted to find a place to slowly spend the transformation period. Well, according to the dog blood cultivation system, in other words, it should refer to the retreat of the transformation period, something like this, right? It seems. Kibeo also slept for many days back then. Liu Yun nodded, but I can't remember if we had this kind of situation when we were young. Our memory is poor, but it should be like this wrong. Edwina stretched out her finger and poked the little lolly on the sofa's face, and asked, so this child is what you call Beijiao? Who else could it be? Sylvia clasped her hands and snorted angrily, I found it on the roof of the Debella temple, and it didn't move at all, and the 9 tails, such a weak 9 way, who else could it be but this child? Don't forget that the system she belonged to was not a monster at all, and if she really grows to the level of 9 tails, she may have to wait until she becomes an adult, who knows how long it will take for her to become an adult? It's okay, it's okay. Liu Yun smiled and took out a small comb to comb the hair on the little lolly's tail, which looked more like a mother than wasabi. Health is good, 9-tailed things don't mean much, let's not expect this extravagantly. Kibeo is going to work hard, my sister has already caught up with my brother. At the same time, Maple Village. Achoo, Kibeo sneezed suddenly. What's wrong with you? Inuyasha glanced at him, the dog sneezed and the sky is going to be sunny. It seems that the cloudy day for half a month is almost over. You are the dog. Aren't they all canines? Kagome told me what a canine is. Foxes and dogs both belong to the canine family. Then why don't you sneeze? Aren't you a dog too? Ouch. Okay, I can't say no to you, so I decided to beat you. Inuyasha, sit down for me. Boom, don't bully Kibeo. Back to the secondary void. At this time Tang Yuan has reluctantly accepted the fact that Beijio is a female fox, and now his face is as dead ashes. His face is neither sad nor happy, slumped on the sofa, staring at the ashtray for a while. The cigarette butt in his hand has burned to his fingers and he doesn't care. Uncle Tang Yuan. Beijio had already changed into child's outfit, and ran to Tang Yuan, calling softly, "Come and scratch your belly, okay? Be good, let's go play." It's okay not to listen to the child. Tang Yuan felt embarrassed when he heard her scratching his stomach. Go to Liu Yun and ask you to comb your hair for you. Mom is busy grooming herself, so she doesn't have time to talk to me. Little Lolita's voice sounded a little aggrieved, and she took out a small comb from behind. Then, can uncle comb my hair? Oh, okay, Liu Yun you have today. Beijio treats you like a mother. 23,333. Thinking of this, Tang Yuan suddenly felt a lot better. A salted fish sat up straight and waved to Beijio. Come on, uncle will comb your hair. Well, thank you uncle. Uncle is the best. With the comb in his hand, Tang Yuan combed the fluffy golden hair on the little Lolita's tail one after another, with a broken smile on his face. Hey, that's not bad. At least Beijio didn't call himself daddy, but uncle, which is a blessing in misfortune, right? Look at Liu Yun, who was happy before, but after Beijio woke up, he saw him call mom for the first time. Liu Yun is still shutting himself in the room and doubting life. Hu Sheng. By the way, Tang Yuan really built a single room outside for Liu Yun, which looked like a guard's room. Now Liu Yun really became the old man of the porter. To be continued. Chapter 184. Chapter 3. The Tyrant, inside the bridge. The interior space of the bridge of the interstellar warship is extremely wide, and the front end is the driver's seat, but it is generally driven by AI automatically. In interstellar combat, there is basically no need for micromanagement, so in most cases, the AI can be very competent. The position of the driver, which directly leads to the fact that in the future world, the real driver can only sit in the driver's seat and play with a mobile phone all day long. Because the workload is too small, he becomes an idle job with a meager salary. Relying on food and housing on board to live. This is the case of civilian spaceships. The pilots of military spaceships are a little better. Anyway, they are also on military pay, and their wages are not so unimportant. The above was told to Tang Yuan by the battleship AI. God knows which world she came from. Anyway, Tang Yuan only felt that the battleship pilots in that world were really pitiful. According to the AI, it seems that not only the driver's position is threatened by the AI, but even the gunner is suffering. That's right, AI was generally used to aim at that time, just like the driver. When it really needs manual control it's really pitiful. Now it's good, the driver and the gunner can get together to drink some tea and chat, and they won't feel so boring these days. Far away, anyway, the interior space of the bridge is very wide. In the center is a semi-curved podium. In front of the podium is a huge 3D holographic projection screen. Generally, when there is no need to display any information, the battleship AI will be cued on it. I heard that in the future, there will really be captains who have nothing to do and let the AI do pole dancing on it. At this moment, Tang Yuan took out a three-cornered hat from nowhere and put it on his head. He sat on the captain's seat and looked at the people sitting on the podium below. Liu Yun, Ba Jiao, Ji Luo, Lin Xianwei, AI Xianwei, etc. Devina and Sylvia watched the AI pole dance there with great interest. You said that this girl who looks so dignified and serious is still wearing a military uniform. Why is she really running off the screen? Go pole dancing. ? The following is our first meeting. First, we need to clarify the next combat goal, Tang Yuan said and waved his hand. The AI next to him was dancing pole dancing. When he saw Tang Yuan's movements, honestly exited the projection screen, and a huge icon appeared on the screen. Red Alert 3, the game's logo appears on the projection screen, slowly rotating. Oh. Lin Xiaoyu immediately stood up and shouted when she saw the big red warning English, red plus blue equals purple. Long live Yuri. Cough, you sit down for me first. Tang Yuan knocked her over with a brain, and knocked her back on the seat. This is the third generation. I'm sorry there is no Yuri, and there is no Romanov. The plot is up. Speaking of Romanov has disappeared. The real-world situation is that Romanoff's actors are dead, so in the third generation, except for Tanya, you can't find other second-generation characters. Well, even Tanya's actors are not the same personal. Sure enough, the third generation cheated me. I've decided, I'm going to play pirated version. Lin Xiaoyu complained, lying on the seat and stopped talking. Then, Tang Yuan pointed to Zalubia and said, thanks to Comrade Zalubia for providing the information, the world of Red Alert 3 happens to be an unowned world, that is, it is purely natural and wild. We plunder the world's resources. The first step to eroding the world and gaining power is Red Alert 3. I just happened to be there before and established a good cooperative relationship with the top Soviet army, but this is not important, because the Sickle Hammer party in that world is all about One Piece X, cannot be trusted, and then we can't be partial to the Allies, because I hate Blue, and then we can't be partial to the Rising Sun, because I hate Fang Lang. Ask. Lin Xiaoyu raised her hand high. Speak. Then what are we going to do? She asked standing up. Tang Yuan glanced at her, waved his hand again, and a big progress bar appeared below the red alert, logo on the big screen. Our task is very simple, plundering resources is second, we need to stay there for a month time. The Predator plugin for erosion runs automatically, we only need to stay there for a month, then we can plunder enough power, and then we can do whatever we want. You want to use Italian, it's none of my business to bomb Italy, I just want to have a blast in it too, so, oh yeah. Lin Xiaoyu jumped up, Italian gun, here I come. Lil Cunculus, Beijio, and Gilo were dumbfounded when they heard that. Edwina sat there with a silly smile on her face, and those who didn't know thought she was not a crazy god, but a silly god. Cough. Then, old girl, thank you. Tang Yuan nodded towards Zalubia, you helped me upgrade the rift, and I will return this favor to you later, so I'm leaving now. Do you want to go together? Let's forget about it, just treat me to a meal, and I won't go with you. I will find an Rui to play Fallout 4 later. I heard that she has created a LAN online patch. The scene of two old popsicles picking up trash together makes a lot of sense, so let's do it, brother, I'll go first. Zalubia waved her hand and disappeared in place. She helped Tang Yuan upgrade the rift before. Tang Yuan's rift was originally part of the incomplete power of the rift obtained from Zima. After being upgraded by Zalubia, although it still looks scary like a space rift, in other words, as long as Tang Yuan has the support of coordinates, he can freely run around in various worlds. Cooperating with the teleportation function in the Lord God, providing coordinates, I can go wherever I want. After sending Zalubia away, Tang Yuan turned on his watch and clicked, transfer. At this time, the teleportation interface no longer randomly appeared 5 worlds, but had, search, favorites, shake, these 3 options, shake. Tang Yuan tried to click the, shake, button, and then shook the watch as mentioned above. Beep, the names of several worlds were shaken on it. Nearby worlds, God of War 2, China Ichiba, Naya. This Tang Yuan has read the explanation, so he understands that the world marked with means no owner, but he has never figured out why the world where the hero of Kings died is actually no owner. It seems that whether the world has an owner or not is irrelevant. It's not about whether it's hot or not, it's about randomness. Even if the Red Alert series was so popular back then, it's still a world without an owner. That's fine, let's do it like this. I will study this function carefully later. The next stop is still Red Alert, do you have anything else to prepare? Tang Yuan asked, looking at the crowd. Everyone shook their heads in unison. Okay, let's go. For the first time, let's take the tyrant out for a lap. He called to the driver's seat, AI, lift the anchor and go to sea. A mini AI image popped up on the driver's seat, and she stood at attention towards Tang Yuan. Yes, Captain. By the way, Captain, please give me a name. To shut up. Yes. Zalubia was sitting at home and had already turned on the computer to play Fallout 4 online with Rui. Suddenly, she heard a sound of buzz outside the window. Looking out of the curtain, dense light blue glowing lines appeared on the hull of the Tyrant. It turned out that the buzzing electronic sound just now was made when the engine was running. A huge crack, the spaceship whoosh flew into it. Let's go so soon. Sylvia murmured, put down the curtains again, turned and continued to stare at the computer. Come on, Ida is still waiting for you. According to the coordinates provided by the Lord God, Tang Yuan opened the rift leading to the Red Alert 3 worlds, and then drove the tyrant into it. After advancing in the darkness for a while, the front of him suddenly became clear. Oh, not bad. He looked at the scene outside the porthole. The place where the spaceship appeared was in the universe, and he could see the Earth floating not far away from the porthole. AI, drive the ship to the moon and let the robot go down to build an outpost. Tang Yuan ordered. Yes, Captain. By the way, to shut up. No problem, Captain. To be continued. Chapter 185 Huaqian Red Alert 3. Lunar Outpost. Tang Yuan looked at a huge semicircular bubble around him, and felt that this black technology is very useful. He thought he would wear a spacesuit to take a spacewalk on the moon, but he didn't expect that the operating robot would hold a small ecological simulator and go to the ground. Smash it, that's it, air, gravity, give you the enjoyment of going home. A few working robots over there first used holographic projection to make the appearance of the building on the ground, and then used 3D printing to repair the house according to the frame of the holographic projection. The efficiency made a group of people stunned. I have never heard that a house can be repaired so quickly, especially Tang Yuan and Lin Xiaoyu, who are Chinese people in the 21st century. You know why the house price is so high now. To put it bluntly, the most direct reason is that there are not enough houses. The houses built by construction workers have been divided up within a few days of completion, and some houses have even been booked before they are repaired. Yes, if there are enough houses, who would dare to speculate on house prices? Why is the cabbage on the street so cheap? Isn't it because cabbage is everywhere? If cabbage becomes a rare commodity, are you afraid of 500 yuan a caddy? I'm talking nonsense, don't really believe it. In just a few minutes, a small building made of steel appeared in front of everyone. How could this look like an outpost? Tang Yuan I looked at the style of the house, how it looked like a two-story villa. It was only a swimming pool away, the outpost that was agreed upon. Question mark. This looks exactly like going to the moon for vacation. Well, the style of the house is not important, as long as the function is an outpost, it is enough. As the operating robot puts a detection and interference device next to the house, the AI salutes everyone, and the outpost is officially completed. Take no more than half an hour. Ahem, alright, let's go in. Tang Yuan waved to everyone, and took the lead in pushing open the gate of the villa, the outpost, and walked in. All the furniture inside is made of metal, 3D printed out together with the house. Yes, it looks full of technology, and it's not bad, but it's just that this iron sofa hurts my buttocks when I sit on it. AI originally followed Tang Yuan respectfully, but she hadn't taken a few steps before she started making noises and her image became distorted and distorted. What's wrong with you? Tang Yuan asked after seeing her appearance. I'm sorry, it's too far away from the battleship. The projection distance has reached the limit. AI bowed towards him. I'm sorry, Captain, I have to go back to the ship. If something happens, I will pass through the outpost report to you on the communication screen. Okay. Tang Yuan nodded, and the AI disappeared. When he turned around, he saw a group of people wandering around under the leadership of Lin Xiaoyu. Lin Xiaoyu was still holding a small multifunctional wrench in his hand, trying to find out where there were parts that could be removed for research. It's worth it. Question mark. If she were to dismantle the ecological simulation device, none of the people present would be able to survive except Tang Yuan and Edwina. Oh, nothing will happen to Jilo, but Leocunculus and Beijio will definitely GG. Never heard of foxes on the moon. He quickly ran over, took Lin Xiaoyu in his hand, and led everyone to the living room. So is this really an outpost? Turned on the big screen on the wall, and as expected, the AI appeared inside, and then he threw Lin Xiaoyu onto the sofa. After all, it was an iron sofa, and there was a loud bang when it hit it, so Lin Xiaoyu fell silent. AI, how is the satellite arrangement going? Tang Yuan motioned for everyone to sit down, then stared at the big screen and asked. Reporting to the captain, the satellite has been successfully launched. Currently we have 53 detection satellites and 27 combat satellites, equipped with a 5-meter caliber particle beam cannon, which can conduct orbital shooting at any target point on the Earth. Praise, you are always monitoring the movement of the red, yellow and blue parties for me. I am going to make trouble. After Tang Yuan finished speaking, he ignored the AI and said to the younger brothers, I'm going out to do business, so don't follow me. Come here. After all of them look strange, and it is not convenient to participate in my next actions, so, just wait here obediently, especially Liu Yun. You must not run to this big bubble for me, go outside. Also, Keep an eye on Annis, and don't let her run around. If something goes wrong, you will be responsible. Understood, boss? Liu Yun stood upright and replied loudly. Beijiao next to him looked up, learned to stand up straight, and shouted, Uncle Tang Yuan, I understand. Very good. There are also star anises. These things are made of iron. Don't open your mouth to chew if you have nothing to do. Be careful not to bite your teeth. After finishing speaking, Tang Yuan mentioned Lin Xiaoyu and walked out of the outpost villa station, tearing open a crack and walking away went in. Regarding Huaxia, Red Alert, did not mention the situation of Huaxia, but judging from how powerful the Rising Sun Empire is now, the situation of Huaxia is probably not optimistic. However, we can also judge certain situations in Huaxia based on some clues. For example, Huaxia was not actually occupied by the Rising Sun Empire. Why? Because at the beginning of the game, the Soviet Union was invaded by the Rising Sun on the east coast. The Soviet army had no defense against the Japanese army's surprise attack. This shows that the Rising Sun has been making a fortune in silence before this, and has not launched a large-scale war. For one thing, it is impossible for a majestic Great China to be directly occupied without launching a large-scale conflict with the Japanese army. And if Rising Sun had the northeast at that time, would it still be necessary to go by sea and land to play landing operations? In the subsequent battle plot, even the parts of the general's executioner were shipped thousands of miles to the Soviet battlefield for temporary assembly. If there is a northeast, it can be assembled directly in the northeast and crushed all the way. Einstein killed the mustache head of state in advance, and Chetank in Red Alert, killed Einstein in advance. History has been completely different since then. Maybe the Empire of the Rising Sun has never done anything to Great China from the beginning. Some of the above are found from the internet, plus some influences of my own. Tang Yuan directly found a big city in the area of Bashu. The layout is different, so he is not sure what the name of the city is. Walked out of a public toilet, lifted his pants, and washed his hands. When I walked out of the public toilet, I was stunned by the scene on the street. It's not that it's so depressed and chaotic, but it's so fucking normal. It doesn't look like you're fighting at all. He walked around again, found an empty alley, opened the crack and poured Lin Xiaoyu out, and then carried her out of the alley. This girl has been motionless since she bumped her head on the iron sofa before, as if she was dead. Now she has regained her energy, struggling to break away from Tang Yuan's hand. Tang Yuan's hand let go, and she threw herself face down, reached the ground, then stood up and patted the ashes. Is this the Huaxia from the Red Police? She looked around with a face full of disbelief. The era in which the story of Red Alert 3 took place is unclear, but according to the technologies that appeared in the game, it is not much different from modern times, and even slightly ahead of modern times, so the two of them looked at the street without any sense of disobedience and harmony. I was a little surprised that the scene in my original world was basically the same. Xiaoyu, you tried to go online and look up the information. Tang Yuan said to Lin Xiaoyu. She nodded, took out a mobile phone, opened the case and twisted it inside. Maybe it was pretending to be a mobile phone card, and then closed the case and tried to receive the surrounding signals. Not long after, she whispered, "It's done, China Mobile, it's so awesome, the business has already come to another world." Maybe the operating company in this world just happens to be called China Mobile. Tang Yuan leaned over to look at the 4G network, and then Lin Xiaoyu opened the browser to search Baidu, but the result showed that the page did not exist. It seems that there is no Baidu in this world. What a big hatred. Tang Yuan looked around and asked, "What's the matter now? If the ID card format is different, I probably won't be able to go to the internet cafe, so..." Lin Xiaoyu pulled him and began to walk down the street. Look for a jewelry store or something, sell some gold first, and then buy a laptop after you have cash. Usually there is a browser in it, and the browser will also self-contained website navigation. As long as there is a website at that time, there will be nothing I can't handle in the entire network. Come on, who changed his account and was discovered not long after? Well, that was an accident. I focused on practicing my hacking skills later, and it's no problem now, probably. Sister, can you not add the last 2 words? To be continued. Chapter 186. Kukov is about to hit the street. Tang Yuan took the time to ask Makarov, and only then did he know that the Soviet Army's campaign has been pushed to a very late stage. It seems that his previous speculation was correct. Although the official default plot in Red Alert, is the Allied route, But in this world and in different planes belonging to the same world, who will win among the three camps is completely random, and it may be the Allied army in this plane. However, in another plane, it is possible to follow the route of the rising sun. The plane that Tang Yuan once visited is obviously following the route of the Soviet Union, and what happened in this world are all the plots that appeared in the Soviet campaign. For example, Makarov told Tang Yuan one thing, at the same time he was pushing Osaka here. On the other side of the battlefield in Iceland, Moskvin and Oleg were gathering troops, preparing to send the Allied forces to the last place in Europe. The base is destroyed, and General Kukov will also participate in this operation. Ouch! Master Kukov. As soon as Tang Yuan heard that Kukov joined, and then Iceland again, he always felt that something popped up in his mind, but he quickly forgot it and couldn't remember it. That is, General Kukov's command level is super strong. In my great Soviet, you can only become a general with real skills. Makarov said, puffing out his chest and showing his epaulets. For example, you see, although I am a major general, I am still a general after all. This is a military rank obtained by my own ability. Let me tell you, when there is a country where someone can become a general through connections, that country it's almost over. He-Jin, what's wrong with killing a pig? Why isn't your sister a queen? There's nothing wrong with a relationship that relies on one's ability. Question mark. Zhang Rang, He-Jin Zhu, before he died, realized that, as a sister-in-law, he actually married his younger sister. He deserved to die earlier than his younger sister. Wait a minute. When did He-Jin become a sister controller again? Looking at Tang Yuan's expression, Lin Xiao knew that he must have lost his mind again, so she stretched out her hand and grabbed him. What are you thinking about? Me? I was thinking about my sister. Tang Yuan replied casually, and then came back to his senses. Hey? What? Yo. You guys are really disgusting. Lin Xiaoyu pinched the soft flesh around his waist and didn't let go. Although she couldn't hold it, it didn't prevent her from taking it out. What's the matter? Know yourself, didn't you think about attacking your sister after you were born? Yes, the next step is to become a human bulldozer. Then dye your hair white, and call yourself a split membrane, demon hunter, when you go out to meet people. Be careful with the hatchet. Let me tell you, I'm not that enlightened. I won't be able to kill you, but I have the confidence that I can beat Xiaozhen. What are you yelling about? Tang Yuan clenched his fist and knocked on her. Since when did you have an improper relationship with me again? Why do you have to take care of who I want to push? Don't look at me with such a speechless expression. Concentrate on driving your tractor. Tang Yuan knocked her again angrily, then reached into his bosom, took out 2 cigarettes, and handed one to Makarov. Makarov continued to mutter with his cigarette in his mouth. Speaking of it, I remembered that Prime Minister Cherdenko was assassinated a while ago. Although it was a double-bladed helicopter that committed the crime, it is very likely it's her internal people, but it doesn't rule out the possibility of outsiders intruding in. Well, you are also a mercenary, and your circle is different. Have you heard any rumors? He looked at Tang Yuan. Assassination of Cherdenko. Tang Yuan shook the cigarette butt in his mouth. No, although I heard that there are many assassinations of generals, but the assassination of the Prime Minister, I haven't heard of it. Maybe it really is. There are traitors among you. Makarov smacked his lips, wondering if he believed Tang Yuan's words, but the tractor became quiet for a while. Quiet the fart. How quiet do you think a diesel-burning tractor can be? The sound of tractor engines is notoriously loud. But none of the three spoke again. Tang Yuan sorted it out in his head for a long time, and finally remembered what kind of thing it was. Cherdenko himself was a coward plus an idiot. Relying on the time machine to distort history, he became the leader of the new Soviet Union by accident. Prime Minister Kukov, who was originally his boss, would definitely not accept it, so Cherdenko planned to kill Kukov first, so he directed and acted a play by himself, creating the illusion that he was assassinated, and then took advantage of it. When Kukov and the commanders were fighting on the front line, they told the commanders that Kukov was a traitor. Let the commanders kill General Kukov directly on the battlefield. When Tang Yuan played Red Alert, by himself, he was really impressed by the video of General Kukov's death. It is conceivable that a soldier loyal to the country did not die at the gunpoint of the enemy, but was shot behind his back. It must be a bitter thing to be stabbed to death by a single ally. Although Mr. Kukov has some personality problems, he is jealous and cruel, but there is no doubt that he really loves the Soviet Union and his own country motherland. Reminiscent of what Makarov said just now, General Kukov is now fighting with Moskvin and Oleg in Iceland. Isn't Iceland the last battle in his life? After destroying the outpost air base in Iceland, Chidanko will order the commanders, claiming that he found the traitorous Kukov, and let the commanders get rid of him. No, this matter has to be taken care of. There is no absolute good person in the world, but the degree of badness is different. If he dies, it should be Zdanko, not Kukov. Thinking of this, Tang Yuan couldn't calm down anymore. He patted Lin Xiaoyu, and then said to Makarov, "Brother Makarov, I have to leave for a while, it's about the Allied forces. There was no resistance, and the little devils were terrified when they saw your army, and there was nothing to fight, so I wanted to go to Iceland to see if there was anything I could do to help." "Ah. How do you say that you come and go?" Makarov stared at him and muttered, "Mercenaries are freedom. Whatever you want, give Oleg a word for me." Said he still owed me a drink and told him not to forget. "Okay, I see, Xiaoyu, let's go." Tang Yuan stepped on the tractor and stopped it, pulled Lin Xiaoyu off the tractor, and called to Makarov, "You can find someone who will drive this thing, although it's a bit big, it's only a tractor anyway, there should be quite a few people who can drive it, that's it, see you later, brother Ma." "Oh, yes. Comrade Tang Yuan." "Wait. Natasha is also in Iceland. I believe that if you cooperate with her, you will have a very good record again. Come on." Oh. Then Tang Yuan took Lin Xiaoyu and disappeared into the building complex. Makarov looked at the direction the two left, shook his head inside, and sat in the driver's seat himself. "It's just a tractor, I can drive it myself." "That's right, after all, you're not from the Soviet Union, so you have no obligation to follow me, right?" The giant tractor dragged the MCV and continued to drive to the front line. To be continued, short. Chapter 187 Battle of Iceland. Iceland. It's not that the island is full of ice, but it's almost the same. This place is covered with ice and snow all day long. I have to say that the Vikings really know how to play, and places that are too warm don't seem to interest them. That's right, after all, the Nords in the old gun series were created based on the Vikings. Polar blood, the 50% increase in frost resistance is not just for fun. But this war has nothing to do with the Vikings. Tang Yuan led Lin Xiaoyu out of the crack, with ice floes floating under his feet. The two of them looked at the sky and saw a very spectacular scene. The battle between the red and blue sides is in full swing. The Apollo fighters and MiG fighters in the sky are like hornets and hornets fighting in groups. The roar of aircraft engines and the sound of machine guns echoed throughout the battlefield. Fuck, this is ace air combat. Tang Yuan looked at the fighter planes that crashed like dumplings from time to time in the sky, dumbfounded. He had never seen such a big scene before. Group fights in games are not so spectacular. Exclamation mark. You can only produce 4 aircraft in one airfinger. Damn ghosts, stop nagging. Lin Xiaoyu was in a hurry, pointing at an Apollo fighter plane that was swooping towards the two of them, and shouted, "We are being targeted." Ah. Tang Yuan saw that it was not a good thing. The planes on both sides of the sky were fighting fiercely, but some planes noticed the 2 people on the ground when they dived, but neither side knew whether the 2 people were enemies or not. Friends, the Soviet MiG fighters were slow to strike, and an Apollo directly dived at a large angle, ready to shoot and beat the 2 into receive. Tang Yuan saw it. How can this be tolerated? Question mark. I just want to watch you play ace air combat, so why come here and accidentally injure the onlookers? Question mark. Didn't you see that I was still holding a piece of watermelon in my hand? Can you have a little work ethic? Question mark. People don't offend me, I don't offend anyone, not to mention that he came to Iceland to support the Soviet army, so he waved his hand directly. Shit you. A huge golden spear appeared in his hand, and he threw it vigorously. At an extremely fast speed, the spear instantly became a golden straight line penetrating the sky, shooting towards the sky, and the Apollo fighter plane pierced by the golden straight line. Of course it couldn't be better, and I don't know what parts were pierced. There was no chance of crashing, and it directly turned into a firework with a boom in the sky. It's cool. Come again. For the first time, Tang Yuan discovered that masturbation was so cool, so he made a move with both hands, and countless floating golden spears appeared behind him. All of a sudden, countless golden spears flew from the ground to the sky like a raining camera reversed, but these spears were extremely accurate, each of which could accurately hide an allied Apollo fighter plane, and some even turned around. Avoid a MiG who accidentally flew over on his way. The pilots on both sides were shocked. This is not the sensational shock of the UC News department, this is a real shock. Think about it, no matter how sci-fi the Red Alert series is, the things in it can also be explained by science, but these people have never heard of anyone who can make so many monsters that can float in the air and accelerate to such a speed in an instant. A kind of golden translucent spear. Soon the Apollo fighters also knew that the person on the ground was the biggest threat. They swooped down one after another, and fired wildly at Tang Yuan and Lin Xiaoyu. 2 pieces of bullets flew towards the 2 people below. Tang Yuan stood where his feet hadn't moved from the beginning to the end. He didn't seem to notice these bullets at all. When the bullets flew not far in front of the 2 of them, a golden translucent shield appeared out of thin air. These bullets had hit the shield and was roughly bounced off. The pilots also saw that the shield was so strong that even machine guns couldn't break it, so they drew a semicircle in the sky and all returned. I feel like this is not over yet. Lin Xiaoyu murmured softly as she looked at the smaller and smaller fleet of Apollo fighter jets in the sky. Nonsense, I guess the peacekeeping bombers will come later. It's okay, I haven't played coercion for a long time, and it feels good to pretend once in a while, right? Tang Yuan blew out a smoke ring, looking more calm. How calm? Well, you fly your plane here, and I'll go over there. Lin Xiaoyu pointed to the sea in the distance. There should be something for me to pass the time over there. Tang Yuan looked in the direction she was pointing at, and could vaguely see flames on the sea in the distance. It seemed that not only planes were fighting, but also a large number of fleets were firing at each other on the sea. So he nodded. Okay, you go. Pay attention to safety. Hey, it's okay. This level of fighting is completely trivial to me. Lin Xiaoyu grinned, and a few blue and white flames spewed out from the bottom of her feet. Chu Hai flew over there. Jerking off must be controlled. Beware of kidney deficiency. If you have a kidney deficiency after masturbating, I will look down on you. Piss off. The 2 split up. Lin Xiaoyu left Tang Yuan, and soon flew to a place far away from land on the sea. A fierce naval battle is being staged here, and the flames have dyed half of the sky orange. There are countless corpses, lifeboats, and turbid fuel oil floating on the sea. Huge shelling sounds echoed in my ears, as well as water splashes and people's screams and roars. Ah! It's been a long time. This kind of scene like a Hollywood blockbuster. The last time I saw this kind of scene was in The 3 Tigers, Tiger, 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 right? And this modern technological battleship group, it looks much more spectacular than the steamships of World War II. She took out the huge wrench and held it horizontally in front of her, facing a raid destroyer in the distance. After 2 or 3 seconds, the wrench made a beep. The lock is complete. Launch. Feel the mechanic's anger. She yelled and pressed a certain part of the wrench, so the wrench split from the middle, and a missile head the size of a human head flew out. You know, for a large-scale naval battle, something of this size, it's really impossible to attract anyone's attention, and, even if it is noticed, there is usually no time to take evasive measures. So, a few seconds later, the destroyer was swallowed by a small mushroom cloud. Lin Xiaoyu threw this miniature nuclear bomb in the past and instantly stunned the audience. Since she received Tang Yuan's financial support, she has no shortage of nuclear materials, and she has even developed a non-polluting green version. I have to say, tech geeks are scary. To be continued. Short. Chapter 188. Tang Yuan is masturbating. In the headquarters, Oleg and Moskvin stared straight at the screen, and they didn't say a word in a daze. On the screen in front of them, in the satellite aerial images, there are dense red, Oleg, green, Moskvin, purple, Qkov, and blue, Allied forces, light spots. These are the outside. The troops that were fighting were gone, and there were 2 temporarily marked whites in this pile of light spots. One of these 2 white dots is on the shore, and the other is in the sea far away from the land. But what is weird is that around these 2 white dots, large areas of blue light dots disappear from the screen. Based on the judgment conditions of the identification friend or foe system, it was obviously killed. Oleg watched for a long time, grabbed the microphone next to him and started yelling, all units report the situation. Second Fleet. What did you see? Report to me immediately. When Moskvin saw Oleg's movement, he also reacted, and picked up the walkie-talkie next to him. Comrade Natasha, please answer. Commander. This is the Second Fleet. You will never believe what we saw. An uncle's face popped up on the small screen in front of Oleg. The camera shows the past. Look, Commander, it's over there, see if you see it. Question mark. Oleg squinted his eyes and pressed his face to the screen carefully, and finally saw a beige figure flying around far away on the screen. Even if it is a high-definition large screen, it is only a few meters away from such a distance. It's just a few pixels, it's not clear at all. Comrade Mikhail, what is that? He asked. It's a little girl, she's flying in the sky. The captain named Mikhail yelled at the screen. This little girl didn't know where she came from. The small missiles she fired could cause huge explosions. Many warships have already been destroyed. She sank. We thought it was the rocket angel of the Empire of the Rising Sun before, but later we found out that she only attacked Allied warships, so we didn't care about her. Can you find a way to contact her? Oleg asked. Not for the time being. Just now the flagship tried to send out a broadcast to ask her to come over and explain her identity, but she was yelled shut up all the way. Commander, what should we do? Captain Mikhail's face is full of grievances. Here, the small screen in front of Moskvin also lights up. This is Natasha. I am outside the Allied outpost air base, ready to invade. Don't be too busy. Moskvin yelled towards the small screen. Have you noticed that there is something wrong with the Allied fleet in the distance? I noticed that peacekeeping bombers have been dispatched to the Air Force base here. I feel like they encountered something terrible. The number of fighters returning home is pitiful, and it seems that they have suffered heavy losses. Go over and have a look. If you see something, remember to report it as soon as possible. Moskvin hung up the communication after speaking, changed the channel again, and grabbed the microphone in front of him. Airport. Are there any at the airport? What discovery? Before the airport could reply, a small window popped up next to the screen. This is Natasha. I saw it. It's Tang Yuan. Tang Yuan is masturbating there. PFFT. Oleg was drinking water, but when he heard Natasha's words, he spit it out. When Moskvin heard an unfamiliar name, he also asked, who is Tang Yuan? At this time Oleg squeezed over, and his body weight of more than 200 kilograms pushed the thin Moskvin aside. He stared at Natasha on the screen and asked, Comrade Tang Yuan? Why is he here? You just said what is he doing? He's masturbating. Just when Oleg and Moskvin were looking at each other speechlessly, a new window popped up on the side. The picture was a bit distorted, and inside it was the shape of Tang Yuan. Yo, old whoa, are you getting fat again? Does the army have meat every meal? With great difficulty, Moskvin grabbed Oleg's chest muscles and squeezed back in front of the screen. Just as he was about to ask who are you? Call. Oleg hugged the screen and yelled loudly, Comrade Tang Yuan? Long time no see. What are you doing here? Far away from the command post. With a wave of his hand, Tang Yuan shot down several planes from the sky. He looked at Oleg's fat face on his wristwatch that was too big because it was too close to the screen, and smiled. Jerk off. Allied forces. The Apollo fighter jets are really soft and easy to knock down, and hundreds of millions of them will fall down in one shuttle. Sure enough, it's not my own plane that is just fun to fight. Then, what about the fleet? Do you know who that little girl is? Oleg asked Tang Yuan. The one that flies around in the sky? The one that sinks a warship when a missile goes down? Of course I know. She is my partner and a friendly army. Tang Yuan replied with a smile. Okay, what's the matter? I will talk about it after I finish shooting the plane here, and then I will go to your headquarters to talk slowly. Hang up first. After speaking, he turned off the communication on the watch. Should it be said that it is 720? Although I don't know whether the 720 is a product of technology or magic, but it is something created by God. It was so easy to invade the Soviet Union's military network without encountering any obstacles at all. He even acted so normal when he connected, that Oleg still hasn't realized that his communication was intruded. Tang Yuan looked at the wreckage of the plane that fell all over the place, put his hands in front of his eyes, and looked at the bloated figure slowly approaching in the distance. Isn't this a peacekeeping bomber? They actually dispatched a bomber for such a small target as me. What about human rights? He looked at the peacekeeping bombers that gradually became clear, and laughed. The cost of the bomber, but it is much more expensive than fighter jets. One is worth 10. Capitalism is money. He said so, but with a wave of his hand, a large pile of golden spears appeared behind him. I made it, I made it. That's right. Since the main god and 720 have been fully integrated, the rewards Tang Yuan can get are no longer decided by the main god, but as long as he makes changes to the world, he can get resources. Because as long as the world is changed by something outside the world, it will lead to the collapse of the world line. Although Tang Yuan just shot down a bunch of planes, instead of blowing up the Pentagon directly, he has indeed changed the world. The direction is off. This group of planes should not have crashed here in the original history, so when he, an existence from outside the world, destroys the established history in this world, he can recover from the collapsed world line. Get resources inside. Moreover, the larger the scale of the destruction, the more resources you will get. If you kill 1 or 2 small soldiers, it may not be much. Resource points are nothing now, he doesn't lack anything now. But no one would think that they have too much money, right? So with a very happy smile, Tang Yuan shot this group of long guns out with a very exaggerated posture. The peacekeeping bombers in the distance exploded. To be continued. Chapter 189. Nikolai Kyukov. Kyukov watched the video that his adjutant took over, and his heart was filled with turmoil. Those 2 people. It sounds so absurd to be able to fight an army with one person's strength, but this absurd thing really happened. He was just surprised, and it didn't cause the 3 views to collapse because of this. Because he has an impression of this, it was a long time ago, before he followed Shevchenko back to the past to kill Einstein, the world before the collapse of history. At that time he was still a general, but not the general he is today, just a lieutenant general. At that time, the Allied forces were victorious all the way and pushed outside of Moscow, and Shevchenko in the old world was just a little colonel. Or Kyukov's subordinate. Kyukov still remembers everything about the old world very clearly. Prime Minister Romanov, the descendant of the Romanov dynasty who raised a little bastard named Sam with a big belly and a wretched smile, and the terrible shadow that follows him like a shadow, Yuri. Yuri's origin is unknown to anyone except Romanov. That man has unimaginable power, he can control people's minds. If this strange ability is used properly, it is not a big problem for one person to destroy an army, so Kyukov is only surprised when he sees Tang Yuan and Lin Xiaoyu's performance now. There are not too many people in the old world who can achieve this level. For example, the Allied forces Chrono Air Corps, that is the real black technology, it is said that they were hit by the light from the magic wand in their hands. A person who has no chance to die will disappear forever in time and space, except for the memories in other people's minds, nothing will be left behind. Let's talk about Tanya in the old world. Kyukov firmly believes that the Allied Tanya he sees now is definitely not the same person as the Tanya in the old world in his memory. C4 blows things up for fun, but looks completely wrong. Changed actors ha, and then there is that legendary Soviet hero who has disappeared. Boris, that guy's fist is infused with the power of the Soviet Union, and he can overthrow a tank battalion by himself. My favorite sentence on weekdays is there is nothing I can't do. However, all of that was lost when history was distorted by Shevchenko's killing of Einstein. Kyukov looked at the 2 people on the screen who seemed to be making a movie, and was fascinated for a while. I don't know how long it took, but the Allied forces finally knew that these 2 guys were not something that could be defeated by conventional means, and they panicked and began to retreat on a large scale. The warships turned back one after another, leaving countless sundries floating on the sea. Airplanes. Never mind. Gillis's heart aches when he thinks of all the planes that have been shot down. Eula, cheers resounded throughout the battlefield. Countless people stood on the deck looking at the figure in the sky, raised their fists high, and cheered. Lin Xiaoyu ignored these people, but turned around and flew towards where Tang Yuan was. On the flagship, Mikhail turned on the communication and said to Oleg, "Commander, the Allied forces suffered heavy losses and retreated. Should we continue to advance the front line?" Oleg turned his head and glanced at the map captured by the satellite. There were only a few scattered blue dots running north, and he waved his hand. Cooperate with the ground forces, advance 5,000 meters, and then build a temporary base there and the dock. Yes. Tang Yuan stood on the shore and watched Lin Xiaoyu flying towards him in the distance, and then turned his head to look up. On a cliff that was not too high or too short, Natasha was looking at this side with a telescope, which is really worthy of her. It is a fighting nation, and this icy and snowy person is only wearing a leather long-sleeved cropped jacket and hot pants. It is also quite hard for the sake of demeanor. Qin Huol beckoned to Natasha, and then walked behind her in a flash, and patted her on the shoulder. If you move such a short distance, you don't need to use the rift, and telekinesis is more convenient. This girl was just looking at Tang Yuan at the foot of a distant cliff, but she disappeared in the blink of an eye, and then someone patted her on the shoulder, and she raised her gun and turned around like a conditioned reflex. I said, "Comrade, isn't it a bit inappropriate for you to greet her like this after a long time?" Tang Yuan pinched the muzzle of her gun and raised it slightly. "Are you still pointing? I feel a lot of pressure." Natasha stared at him for a long time, and said 2 words, "A monster." Tang Yuan rolled his eyes and choked out 2 words, "Immortal." "Oh, so you're already dead." Natasha put away her gun. "Then I'm relieved. It's strange. Is there something wrong with your settings? It's fine if you play the plane with its own special effects. Why? Can you still teleport? Did you snatch Tanya's waistband?" "What? Tanya? I'm sorry that her waistband is not teleportation. It is just her time to a few seconds ago. And no matter how crazy I am, I won't pick up other people's pants. You say yes, no." Tang Yuan shook his head again and again. "Besides, I prefer special forces and high school girls with superpowers to spies." Natasha said that she didn't understand the meaning of his last sentence. Nothing. At this time, Lin Xiaoyu had already flown here and landed steadily beside Tang Yuan. As soon as she turned off the ignition under her feet, she stomped her feet and ran over to hold Tang Yuan's arm and stare at Natasha for a while. Natasha seemed to see something from the little girl's expression, and looked at her with interest. Tang Yuan suddenly felt that the temperature around him had dropped by a few degrees. This motherfucker was completely forced to do Azure Field. I have no improper relationship with Natasha. At that moment, he clenched his fist and knocked down on the duang on the top of Lin Xiaoyu's head. "Can you still let me have a few female friends? I really want to be so wide and have the ability to find all my former female votes. Come out and cut it." Lin Xiaoyu covered her head and replied, "There are too many, I can't remember." "Then why do you care so much?" Tang Yuan yelled at her angrily, then held her and waved to Natasha. "I'm sorry, I'm not free for now. I'll wait until I'm free looking for you to play. I have to talk to Mr. Kukov about something now." After speaking, he took Lin Xiaoyu to tear open a crack in place, walked in and disappeared. Natasha looked at the place where the two disappeared, and was stunned for a long time. Then she held the gun butt and hit her head. "It hurts." She rubbed her head, shook her head, and realized that what happened before was not a hallucination, and she was not sleeping, so she immediately became terrified, holding the gun and running towards the place where she put the vehicle. "Yao Xiao hit a ghost. You have to go back and report to the commander." Tang Yuan didn't know how frightened Natasha was. He had brought Lin Xiaoyu to Kukov's VIP fortress. If you want to say that the most annoying thing in Red Alert, is this VIP fortress, can't you just call it the headquarters? They insisted on calling it fortress, and added the word VIP in front of it. I don't know how much money they charged, although VIP is actually the abbreviation of very important person, but I don't know when the main meaning changed from important person to VIP and senior member. Well, it really is the fault of capitalism. No matter what is wrong, just blame it all on capitalism. Let them Western ghosts continue to live their lives without enough food and clothing, and in dire straits. Thinking of this, Tang Yuan skipped the heavy guards and came directly to the door of Kukov's command room, and he knocked on the door politely. How could Kukov know who was knocking? He also won a battle because of Tang Yuan and Lin Xiaoyu's glory just now, and now he was sitting on a chair drinking tea, and when he heard the knock on the door, he responded lightly, "Come in." So Tang Yuan opened the door and walked in. After entering, he greeted Kukov with a smile and said, "Hello, General Kukov." Kukov was also a little surprised to see the two people come to his office without alarming the guards, but after all, they had seen each other a lot since they were older, so instead of yelling, he picked up the hot water pot next to him and poured it into the teacup. He added a glass of water to his cup, picked it up and took another sip, looked at Tang Yuan, and asked, "What do you want me for?" Tang Yuan saw that he was so calm, and felt that the next thing to talk about might be much simpler than he imagined. At least Kukov's age is not on vain. He can understand many things as long as he mentions them a little bit. So with an unchanged smile on his face, he said to him, "It's something, of course it's something, it's about saving your life." To be continued. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190, Negotiation, Pretentious. Oh? Save my life? When Qkov heard Tang Yuan's words, his expression became weird. After all, a stranger suddenly appeared in front of you one day, and he yelled to save your life before he even started to say anything. It's really absurd, right? Question mark. Then tell me, is there anything that can threaten me? How are you going to save my life? Seeing his reaction like this, Tang Yuan was not surprised. He cupped his hands and began to explain. I won't say anything superfluous, but I'll confirm something with you first. You are from the old world, right? Qkov calmly raised his cup to cover his face. I don't understand what you're talking about. Okay, let me just say it. Zelensky is a very capable technical geek. He developed a time machine and took you and Chudenko back to the Zurich International Physics Symposium in 1927. At that time, Chudenko shook hands with Einstein as a gesture of friendship, and the magic of friendship from the Soviet Union made Einstein go straight to heaven. After that, the direction of history became completely different from before. You beat the Allies all the way. It is about to occupy the whole of Europe, but at this time there is an enemy that did not exist in history at all, the Empire of the Rising Sun. How about it? Do you need me to explain it to you in more detail? If you want to hear it, I will also tell you about the process of Einstein killing the Führer in Ra-1. It is ironic to say that Einstein killed the Führer with a time machine, but he himself was killed by the Soviets in the same way. Maybe if Ra-4 is released in the future, who will be killed by time machine? Qkov listened to Tang Yuan's words. The more he listened to one sentence, the more he couldn't calm down. Holding the teacup in his hand, he began to tremble unconsciously, and the shaking became stronger and stronger. He stared straight at Tang Yuan, with a little questioning in his tone, but more of a fear of the unknown. Zelensky said that apart from the three of us, there will be no one else. I have an impression of things in the old world. Only the three of us are from the old world. Who are you? Why do you know the history of the old world? A strange smile appeared on Tang Yuan's face. I am the master of time, Dragon God Akadash. What? Okay, just kidding. I'm just a melon-eating crowd watching the whole process. Tang Yuan waved his hand to signal Qkov not to care about these nonsense. You don't need to know who I am. I just hope you can continue to listen to my story. Tell me. Tang Yuan's statement is simply true and false. No matter how much Qkov believes in science and how much he defeats ghosts and snakes, this matter involves the history of the old world, and it was rejected from the very beginning. I was shocked, and now I'm not sure if Tang Yuan is joking. What if this guy is serious? What if this guy is really some kind of god? Apart from God, Qkov really couldn't think of anyone who would know about the old world. Tang Yuan didn't care what he was thinking. He clapped his hands and continued talking. When you come back from the past, you will find that you have arrived in the new world, and the prospects are bright. But suddenly the Empire of the Rising Sun popped up, and it started without saying a word. Launched a surprise attack on the Soviet Union. At this time, most of your troops were sent to Europe, and the local defense was empty. Presumably this is also the reason why the devils decided to attack the Soviet Union? Not to mention external troubles, there are also internal troubles. Chudenko is such a fart. The little colonel suddenly became the prime minister, and you were still his boss, so it was very embarrassing. Plus you were straightforward and had a gunpowder-like tone. The relationship between Chudenko and you became worse and worse. Speaking of this, the next thing is the key point. You also know that Chudenko was assassinated in his office a while ago, right? Qkov nodded. Indeed, although I didn't find out who did it, but I was able to get all the way to the prime minister's office. I think there is no possibility other than betrayal by my own people. That's right. Tang Yuan walked to Qkov's desk, looked left and right, but couldn't find where the tea leaves were, so he found a clean cup and poured himself a cup of hot water. The next thing I want to say is about your future fate. Chudenko did this premeditatedly. He directed and acted in a play, just to create the illusion that he was attacked by unknown elements, and then planted it on someone, and this so-and-so is someone who knows his biggest the secrets of the people who can threaten his status at the same time. Of course, I don't know who I'm talking about, maybe you can guess. Hearing what Tang Yuan said, Qkov finally changed his face completely. Then, it seems that you have guessed who this so-and-so is, that is to say, as I expected, Chudenko will take advantage of you on the battlefield to tell the commanders that you are those who planned to assassinate him. You are a traitor to the motherland, and the angry commanders will send you all the way to hell. Do you believe it? Qkov didn't believe it at first, But when he thought of Chadang's anomaly these days and what Tang Yuan said, and counting the little pressure caused by Tang Yuan's mysterious identity, he thought about it for a while. Then I really believed it. With a livid face, as if he wanted to confirm something, he asked, "Are you serious?" Tang Yuan smiled and said, "It's no good for me to lie to you." "Then what should I do? Contact him now and scold him? Or should I expose his conspiracy in front of his face?" Kyukov knocked on his desk again and again, his face gloomy, or said to find a way to survive this battle? Really assassinate him after returning? None of these are necessary. Tang Yuan shook his head and said, "The reason why I want to help you is because Chudanko is not the leader of the Soviet Union that I want." Kyukov glanced at him. "What do you mean? Who leads the Soviet Union seems to be out of your control. But I can really manage." Tang Yuan blinked at Lin Xiaoyu. Lin Xiaoyu saw his eyes, nodded, and then took out the computer. Kyukov also saw Lin Xiaoyu's movements. He stared at the computer in her hand and asked, "What are you planning to do?" Lin Xiaoyu ignored him, but turned on the computer a few times, and then clacked and knocked on it again with both hands. Tang Yuan lit a cigarette, threw one to Kyukov, blew a smoke ring and said with a smile, "She is invading the Soviet military network in front of you. To be precise, it is invading Chudanko personal IP. If it was the previous Kyukov, then the old man might have pulled out a gun and killed the two of them on the spot, but after hearing so much from Tang Yuan before, Kyukov knew that Lin Xiaoyu was in after doing something. He just sat on the desk with a dark face and didn't express any opinion. "How is it? Isn't it a bit difficult?" Tang Yuan glanced at the screen in front of Lin Xiaoyu, only to feel that the screen was full of frantically jumping letters and numbers. When they are together, it becomes incomprehensible. It's really a bit difficult. After all, it belongs to the military, and it's still from the Soviet Union. Lin Xiaoyu typed faster and faster on the keyboard with both hands. She raised her head to look at Kyukov while typing. "It might be a lot easier if someone could provide me with a few passwords." Kyukov turned his head away from her. "Just kidding." It was an unprecedented cooperation for Lin Xiaoyu to crack the military network in front of him. How could he provide her with a password? Question mark. No password will work, not even the Wi-Fi password in the barracks. Exclamation mark. While he was still thinking about it, Lin Xiaoyu clapped his hands. "It's done. I have hacked Chadang's computer and personal IP. Very good, keep monitoring." Tang Yuan touched her head, then continued to look at Kyukov. "You can continue to command your troops, and we will notify you when there is any situation. So, you talked to me about this, and then hacked into Chadang's computer in front of me. What is the purpose?" Kyukov asked after thinking about Tang Yuan's purpose. Tang Yuan blew out another smoke ring, and replied, "You are pleasing to the eye, so I want to help you, and Zha Donkey is not pleasing to the eye, so I want to kill him. These things could have been done quietly, but it is because you are pleasing to the eye that I want to help you. I want to say hello to you, and then, just..." After speaking, he suddenly disappeared from the spot, appeared behind Kyukov, and put his hand on his shoulder. "I will continue to fight the Allied forces, and you will understand what I want to do when Chudanko is ready to attack you. I need a coup to remove Chudanko, and it doesn't matter to me whether you are Prime Minister or Makarov is Prime Minister, the rest will be discussed later." Then he disappeared from behind Kyukov, reappeared next to Lin Xiaoyu, and disappeared into the office with Lin Xiaoyu. Kyukov touched his shoulder in shock, and then looked around the office with a look of inexplicable horror. If that guy wanted to kill him just now, maybe he would have done it long ago? Weird guy. To be continued. Chapter 191 Rebellion. By the way, Oleg and Moskvin had just finished eating with Kyukov, and returned to the command room on their side drunk. As soon as they entered the door, before they sat on their chairs, the adjutant came over. "Commander, there is an urgent and confidential letter from Comrade Prime Minister." The two returned to their computers and opened an electronic document. The content in it is nothing more than that written by Chadang. "Kyukov is a 15-year-old boy, you two get rid of him," etc. Several rhetorical techniques were used in the whole article to express the author's emotions. Expressed incisively and vividly, and full of appeal, it can be described as a treasure of modern literature. Does my previous passage remind you of reading questions? 4 points, including 6 points for the first question, 5 points for the second question, points for the third question, deducted points for wrong answers, and no points for correct answers. Huo Peng and Mo Feng looked at each other again, and they saw surprise in each other's eyes. Kyukov is really a genius, and he really made him guess who Chadank was trying to mess with, but he hadn't guessed that it was Kyukov himself that Zdenko was after. Of course, this is just what the two of them thought, but this is exactly what Kyukov wanted. If Kyukov hadn't analyzed the suspicious points of the assassination operation for them before, the two brothers might have believed what Zdenko said and fired at Kyukov. When I came over, I showed my feet instead. Yes, I just wanted to kill Kyukov, who called me the Prime Minister. Oleg was furious on the spot. How did this guy become the Prime Minister? If this kind of person can also become the Prime Minister, I would have unified Mars long ago. Moskvin echoed, not bad. If this kind of person can also be the Prime Minister, I can become an Ultraman by just doing a stretching posture in the morning. Chadanko, how do I know how I became Prime Minister? Good character. Eastern Europeans are also Europeans. What's going on now? Oleg deleted the document, then turned to look at Moskvin. What's the matter? Go find the general. Oh. So the two of them ran out of the command room before their butts were warmed up, and drove to the Kyukov base not far to the southeast. The buddies guarding the gate took a look. Why did these two commanders come back after leaving? Afraid they forgot to take something, so they didn't even bother to stop them, and let them enter the base fortress directly. The two pushed, shoved and cursed all the way to the door of Kyukov's office, and knocked on the door. At this time, Kyukov was still pounding the table to vent his anger. Tang Yuan next to him was biting his cigarette but with a face of nothing to do. Lin Xiaoyu was still holding a pair of small parts in his hands and was fiddling with them non-stop. Then Kyukov heard a knock on the door. He took a sip from his teacup out of breath, and responded smoothly, "Come in." As soon as Oleg and Moskvin pushed the door, they saw Kyukov's lingering anger. Even his hat had gone somewhere, and his hair was loose, so they also hesitated whether to take chat and tell him about Go. They didn't know that Kyukov got mad because of what Zdenko did. General, well, Moskvin was about to say something, but was pushed aside by Oleg. General, we are all children of the Soviet Union. We are all brothers. Oleg roared loudly. Kyukov walked to the back of the desk with his hands behind his back and sat down, bent down to find his hat from under the table, picked it up, dusted off the dust and put it on his head, folded his hands in front of his face. Tang Yuan looked at as the shape always reminds me of a certain surname Ikari. He looked at Oleg and said in a deep voice, "Well said, but what do you want to express?" Oleg was at a loss for words for a moment, not knowing how to answer. At this time Tang Yuan stood up, looked at the two people who ran back, and asked, "I'm afraid that Chadanki ordered you to do it." "That's right." How do you know?" Oleg looked at Tang Yuan. "No matter how retarded that guy is, he can't be so retarded as to send a copy of the document to you. It's very simple, because I felt that there was something wrong with Chadank, so I informed Kyukov and asked him to pay attention to the movement over there." Tang Yuan skillfully pushed the blame to Kyukov. "Chadank Danko just gave you the order, and Kyukov also found out what was in it later. That's why you saw him get so angry when you came in." The two listened and looked at Kyukov again. At this time, the old man had almost tidied himself up, but the hand holding the teacup was shaking a little. "Then what should we do now?" Moskvin asked, not knowing whether he was asking Tang Yuan or Kyukov. "Exposure." Kyukov slammed the table. "He is trying to frame his own people. And the motive is only to strengthen his own position. I want to expose this matter. Also, I want to expose the matter of the time machine. Get out. I won't believe it anymore. If you still can't kill him like this, I'll live stream and on the keyboard." "Good idea." Tang Yuan clapped his hands. "I suggest calling Dr. Zelinsky. He is also the person who developed the time machine, and he is also one of the parties involved. It will be easy for the two of you to fight Chadanko together." "Okay, I'll go get in touch with Zelinsky to do something together. Before that, Xiaohuo and Xiaomo." Chadank looked at the two commanders in front of him. "Don't worry about me. Attack Fengyathlon Air Force Base. This is the last stronghold of the Allied forces in Europe. You can't make a mistake here. I'll give you an order later. You can draw people from my army at will, and I will put the requisition funds will be returned to you, and I wish you an early victory. Also, don't stay online these few days. Let Chadank ask you and reveal your secrets." "Yes, General." The two brothers saluted, turned and left the office. Kyukov can be regarded as a vigorous and decisive person. As soon as Oleg and Moskvin left the office, He waved his hand and called the adjutant in the corner. What? There is an adjutant in the corner, and ordered a few words, roughly about the transfer of troops and the return of expropriated funds, and wrote something with a pen and paper, signed and stamped, and then the adjutant with a low sense of presence nodded and took the several documents left the office. At this moment, Q-Cov breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Tang Yuan and Lin Xiaolu, who were sitting next to him. Thank you. By the way, I seem to have heard Makarov and Oleg say that you are a mercenary from the Golden Dragon Kingdom, right? I heard that you were once a member of the Scythe Hammer Party. Tang Yuan smiled. That's right, but now I don't want to join any party anymore. That's okay, I'm not stupid enough to judge whether I'm a friend based on this. In short, thank you. If it wasn't for your reminder and help, I might have already fought with my own people. Even if I have a day, even if you have a great ability, it is impossible to defeat the entire Soviet. You're welcome. Just think that I did it for Romanov. Although that guy is stupid, he is at least more interesting than Chadank. I still remember the little bastard he raised. Tang Yuan said. He waved his hand at Q-Cov, mentioning that Lin Xiaolu disappeared into the office. That is, the second generation of Red Alert is an eternal classic in the hearts of a generation. Although most people played the cheating castrated version when they were young, like a mysterious creature called Author, until 2010, that is to say, 10 years after the game was released, I found out that this thing actually has a cutscene movie. Not to mention that there are more people who are not even playing the original version, but a, sense version called Glory of the Republic. Strength is fully reflected in the game. Most of the guys who claim to be able to single out 7 ruthless enemies are playing Glory of the Republic. As long as the plot is invincible on the ground, monkeys can defend their homes. It's getting further away. Q-Cov watched the two disappear suddenly again, shrugged his shoulders, lit a cigar, and started to take out the phone book, rummaging in it. Few people still use landline phones in this day and age, yes, but there are indeed landlines in Zelensky's research institute, which are theoretically safer than mobile phones. He almost searched through the entire phone book. By the way, this phone book was brought over from the old world, and almost all the calls on it were no longer available. The only thing that hadn't changed was the public phones in those departments. He found Zelensky's institute phone number, and pressed the number on the phone by his desk. Zelensky, hey? Are you his assistant? Please hand me the phone to Dr. Zelensky, thank you. Zelensky, is that you? Let me tell you, something went wrong, friend. It's different from what you said. To be continued. Happy Fool's Day. Chapter 192, The Rising Sun Pill. Needless to say, I know that Chadanko is finished. Not much to say. Q-Cov and Zelensky teamed up to punish him, plus Oleg and Moskvin, 2 big bosses. Why are they called big bosses? Question mark. Because these 2 people have a lot of background. Let's not say that these 2 guys are just colonels at this time, but think of the moment of the uprising. Although the moment of the uprising was followed by the official default plot, which is the Allied route, in that line, Oleg became the leader of the Soviet Union. Handle, although the Soviet Union had already knelt down at that time, not everyone could be the boss. Oleg could sit in that position, either because he was capable or because he had connections, but no matter what, it was the embodiment of strength. Moskvin. This guy is Oleg's good friend, it can't be that bad, right? Counting Shana and Makarov. To be honest, among Red Alert, if you want to say which camp has the most united commanders, it is only the Soviet Union. On the Rising Sun side, Nagama Shinzo is old-fashioned and frantically chasing the Emperor. Although he is a loyal subordinate of the Emperor with Kenji tennis, Jin-san has always believed that Kenji has the same problems as young people. He is too sloppy, does not care about the importance of things, and is not big or small in front of other Zyans. He also thinks that Jin-san is not very happy, and it is also due to the reasons that young people can't understand the older generation, too rigid, unsmiling, and even a party or a meal will always say you young people. As for how ugly Kuroda is. Sheridan Naomi, this aunt is really in trouble. Although she monopolizes the power of the Navy, she is unanimously rejected by members of the shogunate. The Emperor does not trust her. She has never performed a mission alone. I also can't understand her, because this aunt's words are very offensive. Of course, there may be another reason, because she is ugly. Especially compared with Sato Galiangai in the uprising moment. Oops, that is really a goddess. The difference between her mother and the goddess. Let's not talk about the allies, capitalist maggots, funny, all hypocrites. Funny, well, after all from different countries, no matter how good the relationship is, it's impossible to compare with the Soviet commanders who were all family. So as soon as Oleg returned to the command room, he contacted Makarov. He still remembered Kukov's instructions. He did not use the military's computer, but initiated the contact with his own mobile phone, and told him Cherdenko this matter. So he saw Makarov being pushed aside on the phone screen, and Tang Yuan's face appeared. What? Huo Pang, why are you using your phone to chat on video and use voice-changing software? I haven't heard it for a long time you. Fuck. Oleg almost threw his phone out in fright. Tang Yuan? Weren't you still in Mr. Kukov's office just now? Why did you go to Makarov again? Who knows? Tang Yuan shrugged and left the screen. Makarov reappeared in the screen. In this case, I will come back as soon as possible after I do the handover work. Have you told Shanna? Makarov asked with a cold face. Even if I was promoted by Cherdenko, I can't pretend that I haven't heard about it. Those of us soldiers are fighting for him outside, and he is still doing this kind of trick behind. What a bastard. I hate Makarov the most in my life 2 or 5 boys. Let me tell you, when I was at the Zakhaev airport, I had a friend named Yuri. That guy wasn't dead yet. He chased me all the way to the Burj Al Arab in Dubai a few months later, and was finally shot in the head by me. Hello? Old Duo, are you listening? Hey. At this time Makarov looked at the screen. Oleg had already hung up. Sitting next to him, Tang Yuan complained. Do you still want to say that you were Zakhaev's driver in Chernobyl decades ago? C fell off the roof and hanged himself? Are those game discs I gave you fun? It's part of the show, right? Makarov blinked awkwardly and smiled, then turned and continued to stare at the big screen. Here Osaka has been defeated. Makarov moved his command post to the Osaka prefecture. It is a sight to behold. In the days when he was cleaning up the mess, he ate folk dishes, not to mention Osaka's signature takoyaki. He even ate several meals of puffer fish. Tang Yuan said that this guy was really lucky. He didn't die after eating several meals of fugu. Ranunculus eats pufferfish, and after one bite, he finds that his sight is poisonous. If he hadn't been so awesome, he would probably have become the first protagonist in the history of novels to be poisoned by pufferfish. Thinking of this, he looked at Makarov who was still eating fugu with resentment on his face. Sure enough, Eastern Europeans are also Europeans, right? Also, I just came over from Iceland after having lunch, but it turned out that it was almost 10 o'clock in the evening here, and it was getting dark. Why are you still eating, Makarov, at this time? Night snack. You have been poisoned by the evil capitalism. Makarov didn't know that Tang Yuan was complaining crazily in his heart. After he finished eating the last piece of puffer fish that had been cut crystal clear, he lost his chopsticks, and Daksha ran over to help him take away the plates and bowls and chopsticks. It doesn't look like they are at war. If this guy hadn't been staring at the big screen, those who didn't know would have thought it was in some fugu restaurant. Tang Yuan also noticed that the few small yellow dots on the big screen were engulfed by a large piece of red, so he asked, is it over? Makarov nodded, it's over, now Osaka has completely become our territory. The next step may be to blow up Nagoya. I have to wait for the so-called experts above to study and report to me before I know what to do next. Come down and hit somewhere. No. Tang Yuan shook his head again and again. How about we make a bet? I guess the next step will be to attack Tokyo. Strike Tokyo? Impossible. Makarov shook his head and vetoed. Rising Sun still has nearly half of its territory, and our front is still far away from Tokyo. How can it be possible to attack? As soon as Tang Yuan waved his hand, a golden translucent map appeared on the desk next to him. Makarov was no longer surprised by this, so he leaned over to listen to what Tang Yuan had to say. Look, this is Tokyo Bay, and the entrance and exit are relatively narrow. On the left is Kanagawa Prefecture, the capital of Yokohama. On the right is Chiba Prefecture, the capital of Chiba. The original floating island fortress also had the function of returning to protect the country in an emergency, but the floating the island fortress has been abolished by you, so let's not consider that thing. Let's look at this. Tang Yuan pointed to the map and muttered, at this time, the Rising Sun has been beaten back to the mainland. Basically it is no longer possible to fight in this war. In order to win the battle, all troops have been withdrawn to defend the country, Do you feel that the resistance you have encountered along the way is a bit soft? Makarov nodded. It's quite soft. You mean we didn't meet their main force along the way? I guess so. Tang Yuan pointed to Nagoya and said, if Osaka continues to advance to the northeast, it will be Shiga County and Mie County. This is the narrowest section of the Rising Sun land. It's like a waste. Come across if you look at it. The battle line is very short, and the same amount of troops can lay out thicker fortifications, so I guess if you go out from Osaka and continue to push forward, you will be in a hard fight here before you push to Nagoya. Oh, that makes sense. Makarov felt that it was indeed the case, and nodded repeatedly. Let's not talk about the rear front. Sister Shano has just pushed to Sendai. If you want to go down to Tokyo, it will be farther than your side. Don't think about it. Tang Yuan placed a Shiana in the position of Sendai and made Cyrillic letter Z, the small model in the pose, and then continued to point to Tokyo. So you see, I guess after the Battle of Iceland, the Allied forces' bases in Europe will be completely gone. At that time, most of the troops originally in the European battlefield will be cast on the Tokyo Bay side, and they will take down Kanagawa and Chien with thunder. When the time comes, Tokyo will be right in front of you. Do you think the emperor will run away? The old guy who has been brainwashed by Bushido will definitely resist desperately. As long as the emperor dies, how much do you think the Rising Sun in a mess will be able to do? It seems to be the case. Makarov was stunned for a while, and then he pointed to the figurine of Shanna lying on the Sendai. But why is your posture so coquettish, Shanna? Tang Yuan waved his hand. Shanna's figurine disappeared out of thin air, and then the entire map disappeared. Your focus is very strange. Anyway, I suggest that we should guard in Osaka now, and don't even think about it. Let's continue to move forward. Besides, don't you have to get up and go back to Moscow tomorrow? Coup d'état or something? It's touching to think about it. What are you going to do with Chidanko after he steps down? How else to deal with it? After the incident was exposed, he didn't even have the possibility of being dealt with in a low-key manner. He probably went to Vorkuta to dig mines, or go there to pick up soap. Beautiful. Hearing the word Vorkuta, Tang Yuan felt that Chidanko's prospects were gloomy. It was basically the most famous labor camp in the Soviet Union, even if there were dead people there. No one cares. It's even possible that the guy who died was killed by the management. Speaking of Vorkuta, Makarov shook his mouse and opened the game menu. Riznava and Dmitry are heroes after all, but one was poisoned to death by Nova 6, and the other died on the way to escape from Vorkuta. What a pity. Black Ops. Tang Yuan felt a little regretful that he gave Makarov the Call of Duty game disc. You must know that World War II never happened in this world. If you want to talk about World War II, now this is World War II. If Makarov's worldview is hit, that would be fun. To be continued. Chapter 193 Shinra Research Center. It's just a coup, there's nothing to say. Anyway, Tang Yuan went with Makarov at the time, and he was watching General Kyukov leading a group of commanders and a group of military police pickets into Zhadanke's office. The guy watched everyone come in with a dazed expression, and was taken away by the military police without realizing what happened. Then there is a large-scale reshuffle within the high level. Many officials in positions have changed their faces. Either they have been suppressed by Chidanko, or they are more familiar with Kyukov and the commanders. Anyway, if the ability is similar, it depends on the relationship. Tang Yuan just watched them take Chidanko away and then left. He was neither interested in nor had any reason to get involved in the various meetings that followed, so he simply left voluntarily to avoid embarrassment. So, where did he go? He took Lin Xiaoyu to Tokyo. It wasn't to help the Soviet army set foot in advance or to cause some sabotage, but for some rather shameful reason. Think about it, now that the Rising Sun has withdrawn its troops to defend, it is very likely that it wants to see if the Soviet Union will be counter-killed by the Allied forces before it takes down the Rising Sun. Tang Yuan danced and said to Lin Xiaoyu, then, should we go to a spiritual research center? Where are you going? What spiritual research center? At this time, the two of them were walking on the street like ordinary citizens. Although it was a time of war, Tokyo, as the capital, avoided the spread of the war to a great extent. It is even possible that some dead houses have been nested at home for several months. I don't even know there's a war going on right now. Thanks to the Asian faces, the people around didn't see anything wrong with these two guys. If there was a problem, It might be Tang Yuan's clothes, which were thick and heavy in this warm season. The overcoat was specially made to look tattered, like some kind of fashion. I always thought that you would get prickly heat if you dressed like this, but I have been with you for so long and I have never seen you sweat, sir. Lin Xiaoyu tugged at the corner of his clothes. Isn't it hot? Is it hot? The highest and lowest temperatures I can tolerate now are beyond the range that human technology can express. It's like if you hold a piece of paper or two pieces of paper, which one is heavier? It doesn't make much difference. Tang Yuan pointed to the scarf around her neck. If you want to pretend, are you capable of taking off your scarf? Like you said, what are you doing wearing a scarf in this hot weather? This won't work. Lin Xiaoyu's voice was a little louder. My scarf is different from yours. I wear this for a reason. Oh. Tang Yuan became interested. Is there any special meaning? It's true. When I was in the first reincarnation world, I was helped by a certain big sister. That big sister had a blue scarf. I made one after I went back. It's a pity if there's anything. Yes, maybe she was told that she died in a certain reincarnation mission when I met her team again later. Not repatriation, but a real death. Well, a little sad. I thought it was such an epic story, and I was a little disappointed. Tang Yuan rubbed his hands on the top of her head. Every human life has a story, so if you have killed someone, then there should be more respect for those who are still alive, as long as you are not threatened, of course. Then Tang Yuan led her into a small remote corner, tore a crack and ran in. What did you bring me here for? Lin Xiaoyu saw that Tang Yuan sat up and closed her eyes without moving, and asked, what's wrong? Is there any problem? Don't make noise. I'm using the power of the rift to find out where the spiritual research center is. Such a highly confidential place is definitely not open to the public. Do you expect to hail a taxi there? Stop talking nonsense. Tang, with his eyes closed, he controlled a small rift to move outside at high speed, looking for the destination. Do you really want to go to some psychic research center? What the hell is there? You do not know. After a long time, Tang Yuan clapped his hands together. Okay. I found it. This is so awesome. It's hidden in such a remote mountainous area. I thought it was in Tokyo, but it turned out to be so far away from here. Then Lin Xiaoyu was pulled away from the independent space by him with a face of confusion, and appeared in a huge facility. This place is full of silver white metal walls. It looks like light pollution, and there are troops patrolling everywhere. They are really troops, regular army. It's not security guards or anything, but imperial warriors walking there with rifles. The two suddenly appeared here with special effects. That's not bad. ? Immediately, the warriors shouted enemy attack. Enemy attack. They raised their guns and shot at the two of them crazily. Oh my god, why didn't this group of people even give me a chance to talk? Tang Yuan saw that at least 32, people were shooting in this direction. In addition, the interior of the building was so wide that there were even tanks in the distance. Driving over here, with a layer of golden light shield on it, he began to scold his mother. Calm down, everyone. As soon as he finished speaking, countless golden spears flew in all directions, and the place became quiet in an instant. Have you calmed down? Just calm down, Xiaoyu, let's go. Lin Xiaoyu was pulled by Tang Yuan to move forward in one direction, and she pointed to the miserable corpses and tank wreckage on the ground. Hey, don't they seem to have calmed down? Are you trying to calm down? Don't worry about it so much. Let's find out if there is a computer here. Oh, it's over there. Tang Yuan looked at a computer in the corner at the end of the corridor not far away. I have to say that the Empire of the Rising Sun is red among the three camps in Police 3. The one with the most technological sense may even be the one with the most advanced technology, but the number is relatively disadvantaged. You see, the computers in their research institute still use holographic screens, which are all compared to those in the Soviet Union. The big head display is much better. He carried Lin Xiaoyu to the computer and pushed her up. Here, I leave it to you. Help me find the location of the main laboratory. Of course, it's best to give me the map directly. With black lines on Lin Xiaoyu's face, she pointed to something pasted on the wall next to the computer. Are you blind? People's map is just pasted on the wall like this. I actually did this on purpose. I've seen this map a long time ago. Tang Yuan rubbed his nose and pulled the map off. Let's go. The main laboratory should be in this direction. Let's talk to Dr. Shimada Shinji about the plan for the absolute capable person. Are you playing tricks? What the hell is a person with absolute ability? Oh. I guessed it. Although I don't know where this shitty place is, I'm sure this is definitely the place where Yuriko was researched. Right. Not exactly. Yuriko was not researched, but was born with superpowers. It was just sent here to be called development and training. In fact, it was just to satisfy the research desire of some scientists. Electric shocks to stimulate superpowers and exercise. I really want to experience what it would be like to burn my brain with high-voltage electricity. Electric play? Has Yuriko experienced these things? Lin Xiaoyu immediately became interested when he heard what he said. No, it's just my own guess. How should superpowers be researched? This should be something that scientists should consider. Anyway, it's impossible to raise a superpower suddenly like raising a cat, right? Tang Yuan pinched the map in his hand and looked at it. It would take a long way to get to the main laboratory from here, and the main laboratory is on the lower floor. He didn't know how many floors the Shinra Research Center had, so he took a when Lin Xiaoyu was mentioned, he floated up in place, raised his other hand and pointed towards the ground. Long time no see mental explosion. Boom, a large hole was blown out in the ground, and the 2-meter thick alloy floor, also the ceiling of the lower floor, was directly blasted through. Various wires and pipes in the middle were blown off, and the broken parts were exposed. The metal wires were tangled together, and it looked inexplicably like the stump of some kind of creature. Come on, let's jump down. Look, it's much faster this way, right? Hey, what are you looking for Yuriko here for? I think, this is the first time I've played this meme? Keek, I just want to see how the real Yuriko fights in this world. Really? No other thoughts? Lin Xiaoyu's eyes became strange. How could there be any other thoughts? Tang Yuan shook his head again and again. Am I the kind of animal called the protagonist whose brain grows on the lower body? It doesn't look like it. To be continued. Chapter 194 Shinji Shimada. What is Dr. Shinji Shimada doing at this time? Scientists, besides doing research, what else do they know? Due to the war, Yuriko was dispatched to the army to go to the battlefield, which caused Shinji Shimada's main research topic to run aground for a while. He has been really bored for the past few months, and he has been tossing in the laboratory all day long. The spare test subject, the so-called sister of Yuriko, Noizumi. Speaking of this Yequin, it is also a tragedy. She is also a person who is born with superpowers, and her abilities are exactly the same as Yuriko. However, because her power is too strong, she cannot be controlled by the research center, and she is imprisoned by Shimada Shinji. In the container, a Yuriko emerged later, with just the right strength, so the Yuriko was reused and had a certain degree of freedom. At least it didn't have to be locked in a jar and couldn't do anything. So Yequin first used superpowers to guide Yuriko to escape from the research center, but Yuriko was subdued when she was about to escape, but because of her strength, she was appreciated by the emperor and joined the army. After being imprisoned by the army, Yequin felt that Yuriko's strength had been fully exercised, enough to break into the research center and rescue herself, so he awakened Yuriko again, guided her to escape from the prison camp, and returned to the research center to kill Shinji Shimada and destroy the container rescued itself. Originally here, the story should have ended satisfactorily. As a result, Aya came to a forced boss battle. Noizumi wanted to kill Yuriko and make himself the only one with the strongest superpower or, in the end, was killed by Yuriko. So when Tang Yuan led Lin Xiaoyu to kick the door, the wall, the floor, along a straight line, and finally arrived at the main laboratory of Shinji Shimada at the deepest point, the middle-aged man looked at this with a bewildered expression. The two people who broke through the door were still operating something on the keyboard with both hands, and the holographic screen in front of them was simulating the scene of a super energy wave explosion. Who are you? What do you want to do when you come in? Shinji Shimada pointed at the two and asked loudly, Go out and don't disturb my research. Tang Yuan shook his head slightly, and stepped forward. I take the liberty of interrupting you. What are you researching? Shimada Shinji is worthy of being a scientist. When he talked about the research topic, he immediately talked too much. He didn't care about these two suspicious people who broke in through the door. He talked freely. I'm about to solve the mystery of superpowers at that time. Superpowers will no longer need to be cloned, but any ordinary person can become a superpower after simple transformation. This is the power that can only be exercised by the creator. The power of science is really great. So, you who the hell? How did you get in? Lin Xiaoyu turned her head away and muttered in a low voice, Stupid. Tang Yuan walked up to him, Since his body was upgraded by Isha, his height has been permanently fixed at 1.7 meters 1.6. Looking down at the, meter Shimada Shinji, he said in a low voice, "Let Yuriko come out see me." "What? Yuriko?" Shinji Shimada took a step back. "Impossible. Why would I let a stranger like you see my experimental subject casually? Besides, Yuriko is not here. She went to help guard the palace. The Emperor needs someone as powerful as her to protect him." "Oh, okay." Tang Yuan nodded disappointedly. "That's fine. It's the same if I release Yequan. Anyway, there's not much difference in strength between the two of them." "Yequan? No. No. You can't let her out." Shinji Shimada was in a hurry. He was standing in front of Tang Yuan, but suddenly he took out a knife from his pocket and pointed it at Tang Yuan's chest. "Stab it. Go to hell." "Ding. Good guy." Tang Yuan looked at the torn jacket, and his chest that was sunken a few millimeters by the knife, but not broken, and a terrible smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "The scientist with a kitchen knife is really a hooligan. I can't stop it." "You are so brave. Don't you dare to draw a knife and stab me." I. Shimada Shinji looked at the knife in his hand in surprise, as if it had been stabbed in a piece of rubber wrapped in cowhide, and there was a look of surprise on his face. "It's so strong. Tough? Is this really human skin?" After he finished speaking, he threw the knife aside with a flick of his hand, and stretched out his hands to touch Tang Yuan's chest. Then he was kicked away by the disgusted Tang Yuan. "Fuck off. The breasts of the old man, is that something that can be touched casually?" Shimada Shinji was kicked against the wall, and he was dizzy. At this moment, he realized that this guy was definitely a bad person, so he reached out to press the alarm bell next to him, and then, Tang Yuan again kicked and flew to the other side of the laboratory. "Give up. I've almost wiped out the troops and the research center, but the alarm sound is annoying. Don't press that." Tang Yuan picked up the knife from the ground, folded it back and forth, and finally rolled it into a big roll was thrown into the trash can, and then he waved his hand behind him. "Xiaoyu, come on, take out your big wrench, and beat him to death with the power of science." Lin Xiaoyu smiled when she heard it. "Okay, the power of science is too great." Then she took out a huge wrench that was as tall as a person from behind her buttocks, weighed it in her hand, and walked towards Shimada Shinji slowly with a smile. "Don't come here, I warn you. Don't come here. I am the most outstanding scientist in the Empire." Shimada Shinji panicked, turned around and wanted to run, but found that there was a wall in front of him, so anxious that he stretched out his hands and scratched on the wall, hopping with both feet. "Only people from the Shimada family can climb walls. Who are you?" Lin Xiaoyu murmured, walking over step by step with a big wrench on her shoulders, and then, bang! Ow! Bang! Ugh! Bang! Bang! The big wrench tapped 4 times, and the scene over there suddenly looked a bit harsh, but Tang Yuan and Lin Xiaoyu were both people who had seen the world, so it was no big deal. Tang Yuan walked to a big jar in the corner, poked his head over and looked inside the glass of the big jar. A girl with a big ponytail was locked inside. Her eyes blinked, although she was very conscious but can't seem to move. So he stretched out his hand to grab the big jar, inserted his fingers directly into the alloy shell, and then tore it to the 2 sides, and he roughly tore the device in 2, which he didn't know the specific purpose of. "Nice to meet you. If I remember correctly, your name is Yequan, right?" Tang Yuan smiled at the girl inside. "From now on, you are free." Yequan stretched out his hands to remove the large and small threads stuck on his body, and he floated up in midair. Looking at the man in the black coat in front of him, he asked, "Who are you? Why did you come here?" "Here? Who knows?" Tang Yuan shrugged. He found that he liked this action very much, and said, "Maybe he is a good person? Let's say it first, girl. In a few days I will join forces with the Soviets to attack Tokyo and kill." "How do you feel about the death of your emperor?" "The emperor? It doesn't matter. I want to have a meal. I have been locked here for several years, and I have been infused with a nutrient solution. Well, I want to take a bath by the way." Yequan said and ignored Tang Yuan. Lin Xiaoyu turned around and walked towards another small door of the laboratory. There should be a resting place for Shinji Shimada. Although there is unlikely to be any food, there should be a bathroom for taking a shower. Tang Yuan and Lin Xiaoyu glanced at each other, smiled helplessly, and then he shouted at Yequan, "Also, Lily is also in Tokyo. If you have no intention of killing her, you can come with me then. Go together." Yequan stopped, turned around and looked at Tang Yuan again. "Lily? Unfortunately, I do have plans to kill her. But I will go to Tokyo by myself. This is beyond your control. Don't be like this. Look, we can join hands to kill the Emperor. After all, the Shinra Research Center is a national-level research facility, and it is directly responsible to the Emperor. It is very likely that the Emperor's research also meant that you and Yuriko were treated so badly, and that old man Fang Lang is also responsible. What you said is very reasonable. Yequin was silent for a moment, and continued, but I still want to kill Yuriko. Anyway, thank you for letting me out, and you should not get involved in the following things. Tang Yuan shook his head. A teleport appeared in front of her, looked at the surprised expression on her face, and said, I know why you want to kill her. It's just like raising goo. The one who survives to the end is the strongest. Right? Then I'll tell you here. In fact, the most powerful superpower user in the world is not Yuriko, but me. So, how? If you want to become the strongest superpower person, do you need to face me one day? Come on, do it. Let me see your determination. Are you ready to become the strongest superpower? Do it. Don't just because I am your lifesaver my benefactor is sorry. When Yequan heard it, well, it was the first time he had heard of such a cheap request, so he pointed to Tang Yuan, which was a super energy blaster. This super energy blaster, a rowing boat, the general principle and spirit blasting are more or less. They all condense a certain force at a certain point and then burst out instantly to cause huge damage. So Tang Yuan heard a bang coming from his face. The strength was real. Another person might have had his head blown apart. But he looked around as if he had been slapped, and even stretched out his hands to pick his face. Looking at the expressionless superpower girl in front of him, a sentence came, should I cooperate? For example, shouting what kind of reiatsu is this and then flying away behind. Comma, hey, why are you so confused? Talk. I surrender. To be continued. Chapter 195 Wild Spring, Fear.png. When Tang Yuan came to his senses, he realized that his family was full of strange people. One is a comb that combs the hair of the dead all the year round, and finally turned into a monster, and for some reason, the classification turned out to be hair ghosts. Tang Yuan remembered that the hair ghosts in his memory did not seem to be transformed by combs, but by people. Well, don't worry about it so much. Then there are two vixens. One is a purebred earth fox from Japan in the Warring States period. It's a man. The other vixen is more interesting. It was originally created by the main god, and it's the Nine Tails in the Pokemon worldview. Then, because it's been too long with a real vixen, it was also demonized, became a vixen, and also the weakest nine-tailed demon fox ever. Then there's a lone reincarnation who has successfully returned from the space of the Lord God. He is a veritable technical geek, a mechanic. Since the produced machinery only pursues practicality and does not pay attention to aesthetics, many places are processed very rough, which looks full. The style of steampunk. This guy is proficient in mechanics, electronics, materials science, programming, including hacking technology, 8 languages, already proficient to the extent of his mother tongue. He can also grow tobacco, process tobacco leaves by himself, roll cigars, and Tang Yuan didn't want to admit it, but he had to say that this guy was a female hooligan, and he didn't know what he liked about him. From the very beginning, he had been clinging to her until now, and even Tang Yuan had gotten used to her existence. I can sigh that this is really terrible perseverance. There is also a girl, and who once saved the world in a certain game. She first appeared in the prison of the imperial capital for unknown reasons, and finally fought against the demons all the way. Hurrying back to Annihilation Hell, in the end this girl helped a schizophrenic demon god, stripped off the redundant godhead and inherited that godhead herself, and became a crazy demon god, called Shiagarath. It's funny, I fired her through the back door. Although she still retains the power of the demon god, she has been rolled down from the god's position and is in a state of unemployment, living with Tang Yuan. Then there's a light blue holographic projection. This product is Tang Yuan's most speechless. Originally, he just exchanged for a star warship from the main god, but it turned out that such an AI was attached, which is nothing. After all, the spaceship has AI that's the standard configuration, like Cortana. Well, Cortana's ships don't seem to have a good end, and it always feels a little unlucky to mention her. This AI comes as a bonus when buying a spaceship, and the spaceship has already bound Tang Yuan as the captain. To put it bluntly, this spaceship is Tang Yuan's mobile kingdom alone, and no one on it has to obey his orders. But this AI doesn't know it's a mistake. What's wrong with her? She kept yelling for Tang Yuan to give her a name all day long, and she always talked back to Tang Yuan, not knowing if this AI would rebel in the future. Tang Yuan summed it up one by one. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that one head was too big. Tell me, there is no one in this group of people who is normal. Question mark. Boss, what are you thinking about? Seeing Tang Yuan sitting on the balcony without moving for a long time, Liu Yun leaned over. Damn. Boss, why did you hit us again? I'm used to it. Liu Yun, come here. Step back, come here, listen. Boss, hit lightly. Tang Yuan couldn't help but look at Liu Yun, who was walking towards him and crouched down, covering his head, then turned his head and continued to look at the craters one after another in the distance, not to mention, it's quite interesting to see too many cratered craters. Horizontal ellipsis. I didn't want to hit you, come, sit here. Tang Yuan reached out and took out a bench, put it next to him, and patted it. You also know this person, who likes to sit in a daze when he gets old, come to accompany him. I'll sit down for a while. Oh. Not far away, Lin Xiaoyu was still sitting on the sofa, rattling a bunch of small parts in her hands. At this moment, she looked up at Tang Yuan, shook her head with a wry smile, and put the pile of small parts on the table. Stretched and fumbled for a cigar. Hey, why do you even smoke? On the sofa opposite her, Yi Quan still had a dull expression on her face, although she didn't have eggs. Her worldview is being rebuilt. Since coming here with Tang Yuan a few days ago, her worldview began to suffer a series of blows. First, after coming here, she saw with her own eyes that Bei Jiao hit Tang Yuan's crotch with her head, and Tang Yuan didn't have any shit. Okay, it's not a big deal, after all, he is a man who can take over the super blast with his face, and it took Yequan a while to react. Why are there such a big pile of anus and lecunculus behind their buttocks? Where's the tail? Maybe this guy named Tang Yuan is really a pervert, he likes to make girls dress up like this. Then when she looked around, something was wrong. Where the hell is this? Question mark. Can anyone explain why it's so dark all around? Question mark. There is also a huge earth in the sky. Question mark. By looking at your expression, you already realize that this is not the earth. Lin Xiaoyu said to her with a smile. Where is this? Don't tell me we're on the moon now. There were a few drops of cold sweat on Yequan's forehead. Yes. Then she followed a few people into this outpost villa. It is indeed a name worth complaining about, and saw Edwina teaching Jiluo how to play fireball in the living room. For a long time, only a small flame could emerge from his hand. Although Yequan is a superpower, it must be known that the superpowers in the Red Alert worldview refer to the parapsychology and reality, which is a phenomenon that can be explained by science based on a certain quantum theory. But science can't explain why the two guys over there have a glowing magic circle in their hands and then a big fireball flies out of it. So when she saw Edwina and Jiluo playing fireball there, she was in a bad mood. Coincidentally, Tang Yuan also came in at this time, so she pulled Tang Yuan and asked, Hey, do you dare to explain to me what is going on with these strange guys? Tang Yuan chuckled, that's fine, listen carefully, these two are Lecunculus and Star Anise, as you can see, they are Vixen, and the one over there is Jiluo, which is a mistake when I registered my account and became a hairy ghostly monster. Next to her is Edwina with a big fireball in her hand, she used to be a demon. A demon is almost like some kind of evil god, you should be able to understand, right? Well, as for the one next to me you can call her Lin Xiaoyu, her real name is Liu Kihua, as you can see, she is a mysterious creature serving as a background, and then as I told you before, I am the strongest superpower user. Are you serious? Yequan's face had a row of big, excuse me. Question mark, the words. That's right, I'm serious. Anyway, it's no good for me to lie to you, right? After all, liars have a certain purpose, and this purpose will bring them a certain degree of benefit, so they will cheat. Tell me what you can give me. Above on that day, Yequan's worldview officially collapsed, and it has been constantly being rebuilt in the past few days, especially after seeing the coexistence of technology and magic in this broken place in Tang Yuan, living in an ecological simulator environment. The nine-tailed demon fox. Do you think this is the coexistence of technology and magic? She feels that she has basically become a salted fish, because she has lost her dreams. Tang Yuan sat on the balcony for a long time, and Liu Yu next to him had fallen asleep in a ball, so he stood up, stretched his legs, walked into the living room, and looked at Yaquan's dull expression. It's been like this for days. How is it? Are you used to it? Yaquan pondered for a while, and then replied blankly, this is so exciting. Do you still want to tell me that there is actually a beautiful AI on that spaceship over there? Wow, you guessed it right, there is indeed a beautiful AI on that spaceship, but it's too much to beat. Tang Yuan sat next to Lin Xiaoyu, squeezed her to one side, and looked at the wild woman on the opposite side. Quan continued, what's the matter? Can't you accept this kind of development that is too rapid for you? A few days ago, I was a guinea pig locked up in a research facility. A few days later, I found myself in a brand new the world, or something. Isn't it very interesting to think about it? No, I feel a little scared. I want to take Yuriko and live in seclusion after I go to Tokyo. Oh, you don't want to kill her? Tang Yuan asked with a smile. Yaquan shook her head, and she glanced at the other side of the living room again. After several days of practice, Jilua was finally able to use the big fireball normally, and she was throwing fireballs with Edwina at the moment. She withdrew her gaze, shuddered, and said, it doesn't make any sense anymore. The only superpower or something, the strongest superpower or something, it doesn't make any sense anymore. Maybe now I'm just live because you don't want to die. Tang Yuan took a look. Alice, it seems that not only the worldview of this girl has been hit, but even the outlook on life has been affected. Now she really looks like a salted fish. It's really pitiful. Then join us. He stretched out his hand towards Yaquan. Hey. That's right. Join us. We are the rocket team traveling through the galaxy. Bah, we are travelers who travel freely between worlds. Maybe you can find something that interests you if you join us. Across the world. Yaquan asked suspiciously. That's right, you can understand me as an interdimensional technology. Although it sounds like I'm abducting and selling girls, what I really want to say seems to be understood as I temporarily keep you in the team after I rescue you. Yes, right. Tang Yuan said so, but with a smile like a human trafficker on his face. To be continued. Chapter 196 Sit-in number 039, time to start. Tang Yuan discovered that the similarities between Yaquan and Yuriko are not only in superpowers, but also in many other aspects. For example, because she was locked up in the laboratory since she was a child, her personality is a bit abnormal. The most intuitive manifestation is that Yaquan likes to sit in a daze when she has nothing to do on weekdays. According to her, it is I don't know what to do, and she has no idea when doing things. Basically, she knows how to act only after others tell her what to do. Not to mention things like sophistication, this girl is a piece of paper in this regard. She will believe whatever Tang Yuan says. She is so easy to coax. I feel that if you want to do something strange to her, just say a few words. You can fool her into giving money and think you have earned it. After getting along these few days, Yaquan can get along with everyone. At least there is no conflict. That is, she will be a little nervous in front of Le Cunculus in Beijing. I don't know why she is nervous. The vixen looks like how cute, isn't it? Occasionally, she would have a spiritual conversation with Yuriko, referred to as Shinjio, which also appeared in the game. Tang Yuan said that it was just a spiritual connection, and she would also, but it was not as buggy as Yaquan and the others. Her own spiritual connection, there is a distance limit, but Yaquan's spiritual communication, anyway, in the game, she once talked to Yuriko in Guam across the sea in Japan. I don't know where to go. Tang Yuan once expressed curiosity about the content of the conversation between her and Lily, but she said with a sullen face that it was the privacy of the girls, and that if Tang Yuan tried to find out the content of their conversation, she would put it on the toilet paper in the toilet. Spray with chili water. So a few days passed like this, and one day when Tang Yuan was sitting on the balcony looking at the crater in a daze, Makarov's communication came. Hello? Hello? Tang Yuan. Where are you? Why is the signal so poor? Makarov appeared on the screen of Tang Yuan's watch accompanied by noises and blurred screens. Oh, don't worry about this. What do you want me for? Tang Yuan looked at his watch and asked, have you finished cleaning up the mess over there? Have the European troops withdrawn? Yes, it's over. Let me tell you, your influences are amazing. At the last military meeting, a group of people discussed it for a long time. But in the end General Kukov studied the map and finally decided launch a raid on Tokyo. The army is already assembled. You are a fucking talent. Well, that would be great. Where are you now? I'll bring someone over right away and see if there's anything I can do to help. We are currently in Sendai, and we are making a detailed plan to attack Kanagawa and Chiba and then go straight to Tokyo. How long will it take you to come? Immediately, I'll hang up first. Tang Yuan hung up the communication, then went to the living room, gathered a group of people, and returned to the Earth from the moon through the rift. That was really a group of people. I won't talk about Luo Lin Xiao with 6 knots. Yekun wanted to find Lily, so I didn't say anything. Even Edwina and Beijiao were brought along. According to Tang Yuan, damn, it's time for the final word. If this battle is won, Xuri will go back to her hometown to get married. How about not watching? However, Lilcunculus and Beijiao were strictly ordered by Tang Yuan to put their tails away. The vixen is very interesting. He can hide his tail and ears and completely disguise himself as a human being, but he usually likes to show his tail and ears outside. Acting cute, maybe. So here, Makarov just hung up the communication, stood up from his seat, twisted his waist, and prepared to exercise his muscles and bones, when suddenly a frightening interdimensional crack opened in midair, and a group of people jumped out of it. Damn it! Brother Xiaoma was so frightened that he took 2 steps back and sat back on the chair. After Tang Yuan brought everyone out, he looked around and found that the surrounding layout was a bit like an office. Anyway, it didn't look like a command room. He also looked at Makarov's epaulets. Although the Soviet Union in the Red Alert series his military uniform is very fake, and it is difficult to identify the rank, but thinking that Makarov was a major general before, and now there is an extra star on the epaulet, the result is obvious. Hey, Brother Xiaoma has been promoted? Lieutenant General. There is no one left for such a young lieutenant general. You have to buy me a meal when you are free. He said with a smile, and sat down to the side without any surprise on the leather bench on the wall. A group of girls were still greeted. Sit down, don't look outside. You really can't see outside. Makarov calmly watched the crack in midair disappear slowly, squeezed out this sentence, and then looked at the large group of girls around Tang Yuan. Ginseng prostitute? I wish you to be hollowed out as soon as possible. Hey, don't mention it, I just put it in the team to catch the eye. I'm not a bulldozer. Tang Yuan waved his hand. It's a group of girls. In fact, one of them is you, but there's nothing worth mentioning. Yes, he looked out the window again. There was an endless sea with densely packed warships floating on it. Is this preparing to attack? Where is the headquarters? I don't think your office looks like a place for commanding. This is for rest. For the headquarters, come with me later, there will be a meeting in a while. It's okay, we are all acquaintances, just me, Lao Huo, Lao Mo, Shanna, Daksha. Oh, and Natasha. As for the other adjutants, I can't say anything. Mr. Kukov is sitting in the Kremlin, and he has delegated power to us. We are all in charge of this attack. So if you want to help, everyone is welcome. Makarov stood up and opened the office door. Here, come with me. Everyone followed him out of the office and came all the way to a spacious meeting room. At this time, the meeting hadn't started yet, only Oleg and Moskvin were sitting there talking about something, laughing wretchedly from time to time. Then the two watched as the door of the meeting room opened, and a group of people rushed in noisily. Then Tang Yuan was stared at by these 2 guys with bitter and hatred eyes. Look, ginseng prostitute. Oleg stared at Tang Yuan and said to Moskvin. Well, where are the ginseng prostitutes? Moskvin stared at Tang Yuan and said to Oleg. Should be burned to death. Should be burned to death. These 2 guys were suddenly enveloped in a dark aura, and Tang Yuan could only feel his hair stand on end being stared at by them. Hey, Lao Huo, Lao Mo, long time no see. It's been a long time, but it's only a few days. Oh, Lao Huo, why haven't you seen you in the past few days? Why are you getting fat again? He walked over to Call with a smile. He greeted him, and a few seconds later he was stared back by the terrifying look. Lin Xiaoyu looked at Tang Yuan, who was trembling with his head buried in his chest, and felt his face turn ashen. What are you doing? Xiaoyu, those 2 people are scary. Let go, it doesn't look good in public. Oh. So Tang Yuan let go, and lay down on the conference table, not daring to look at Oleg and Moskvin again. Makarov suddenly felt that he shouldn't have brought this group of people into the conference room. The serious atmosphere was gone. To be continued. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197: Assault on Tokyo. It is said to be a battle plan, but in fact, what is there to formulate? How many people does the Rising Sun Empire have in total? What is the population of the Soviet Union? Even if it is not as good as the Golden Dragon Kingdom, it still has enough people to heap the Rising Sun Empire to death. Is it enough to fight 2? Not enough. Okay. 3? Not enough. Okay. 4? Well, it seems that the population of the Soviet Union could not be 4 times that of the Rising Sun, but it already has an absolute advantage in terms of military strength. This is a sure-win situation, just like someone surnamed Wang said, "How can the flying dragon lose by riding on the face?" Cough. Don't talk nonsense about this. Be careful to milk the Soviet Union to death. Anyway, this so-called battle plan is actually just to discuss the division of labor between them. Who will fight Kanagawa and who will fight Chiba? Who will attack Tokyo when it is attracting attention? These group of brats are really arguing over who will attack Tokyo. Just a challenging task. In the end, after a long struggle, the result was discussed. Oleg went to fight Kanagawa, and Moskvin went to fight Chiba. While the two were attacking both sides of Tokyo Bay, Makarov and Shanna led the troops to go straight to Tokyo, to kill the emperor. As long as the emperor dies, the empire of the Rising Sun will become a salted fish. The empire of the Rising Sun without the emperor is like a cockroach without a head. Although they can continue to live, how long they can live is not up to them. Popular science, even if the head is cut off, the cockroach can continue to live, and its physiological functions are completely normal, and it can continue to survive for several days. The reason why it will die after that is because it cannot eat without a head. Death? Damn, it really is the real master of the earth. It's so frightening! Tang Yuan watched the whole meeting and listened to all the content. After that, he looked at Makarov and Shanna with subtle eyes. In the game, the player who accompanied the protagonist, that is, the player, to attack Tokyo it wasn't Shanna, but Moskvin, but here, the commander who accompanied Makarov to attack Tokyo was Shanna. There is adultery. In fact, the discrepancy between the game and this world is already very large. For example, the Prime Minister, Kyukov, is dead at this time in the original time and space, and the Prime Minister is still Chudenko, but now Chudenko has been sent to Wolverine. Urkuta has gone to Mine, and the Prime Minister is Kyukov. This is already a huge change in the world line. Tang Yuan has drawn a huge amount of resource points from it, but he is too lazy to count it. So, what about the good profiteers? Not doing business properly is really not just kidding. When he finally left the conference room, Tang Yuan always felt that Natasha looked at him strangely. How does he know why? Scratching his head, he took a group of girls and followed Makarov onto a battleship for some unknown reason, preparing to sail to Tokyo Bay with a large force. The original plan of everyone was to send a large number of paratroopers to launch a surprise attack on the Emperor's palace when Kanagawa and Chiba were too busy to take care of themselves, but it was stopped by Tang Yuan. The reason he gave was that a large number of air defense forces were found in the capital of the Rising Sun Empire. It is very likely that all the transport planes will crash. Isn't that the case in the game? At the beginning, there was such a large group of planes, but in the end, the combat unit that successfully airborne turned out to be only one conscript. In fact, the English is the same. Conscripts sound more friendly. After all, the second generation's childhood, and a bear, one person and one bear. Can you believe it? After confirming from Lin Xiaoyu's ultra-high precision satellite images that there is indeed a large amount of anti-aircraft firepower in Tokyo, everyone rediscussed and finally decided to be on the safe side. It is impossible to escape, but to sit obediently in the palace and wait to die, so it doesn't matter if you push it slowly, it just gives the troops stationed in Tokyo more time to react, resulting in stronger resistance. Tang Yuan said that he wanted to help, so he took a group of girls, followed Natasha, and boarded a landing craft, and then went directly to Asahi, Japan to fight. Soon, the troops of Oleg and Moskvin took the first step to engage Kanagawa and Chiba, and the result of the large forces storm was not unexpected. These two were simply talents, and they invented lightning tactics, blitzkrieg. You must know that this was invented by the famous German General Guderian during World War II in the original time and space. It is roughly to make full use of the ground mechanical forces and air force to carry out sudden and rapid strikes on the target, often able to knock the opponent out of shit in a short period of time. Come. I didn't expect that the first guys to create this kind of war mode in this world were the two commanders of the Soviet Union, Oleg and Moskvin. Get the news that Kanagawa and Chiba are under control. So Makarov waved his hand. March. A large number of warships passed between Kanagawa and Chiba with their heads held high, and came directly to Tokyo Bay. What is waiting for everyone is the defense line deployed by the large forces of the Rising Sun Empire on the coastline, but this battle is betting on the future of the Soviet Union. Tang Yuan winked at Makarov through the screen of his watch, and Makarov nodded, so Tang Yuan stood at the bow of the ship and made a powerful posture. Immediately afterwards, countless golden rays of light emerged from his body and quickly became real. With a sound of click, a huge Tang Yuan with a height of tens of meters stood on the sea, looking down at all living beings. Ha 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 ha, this is the latest big move I have developed. At this moment, my whole body is full of the power of the sun. Tang Yuan stood on the huge golden head of Tang Yuan, talking nonsense. Talking to him standing together on the golden Tang Yuan head was a group of girls who came with him. Makarov is no stranger to this, Shanna. Pointing at the golden giant standing tall, she shouted, "It's actually transparent." So, why Shanna are you focusing so strangely? The countless Maozi present were stunned by Tang Yuan's move, but after all, the fighting nation has rough nerves. When the golden giant walked towards the beach in Tokyo step by step, a small tsunami was generated at every step. Everyone seeing this, Maozi raised the weapons in his hands and cheered loudly. Yula. However, the Rising Sun troops on the coastline didn't have any intention of cheering. Everyone had their mothers written all over their faces. Tang Yuan held a star anise in his arms, the pose of hugging a cat, super cute, and shouted to a group of girls beside him, "What are you waiting for? Come on. We are here to fight." Yet, Lin Xiaoyu and Ji Luo, the most immoral guys in the team, first jumped off the golden Tang Yuan's head, and then Ji Luo threw a big fireball with a wave of his hand. With Edwin Na learned the fireball technique, Lin Xiaoyu took out a wrench and kicked it, and the wrench shot out a missile head that was a bit too big for her. Boom and boom made two loud noises, and the Sunrise Army, which was still in a daze, finally realized that a large group of people on their side had been killed, and raised their weapons to shoot at the huge golden Tang Yuan. Beam rifles, particle rays, CM armor-piercing projectiles, and large-caliber particle ray cannons equipped by wave energy tanks, all these messy attacks went towards the golden giant. For a moment, there was a huge explosion, flames, smoke and dust covered the entire sea area. Did it work? A certain Rising Sun soldier murmured. However, just like the classic shot on Dragon Ball, when the smoke cleared, the intact golden Tang Yuan still stood on the sea. On top of this golden Tang Yuan's head, Tang Yuan propped up a small semicircular golden shield, and asked with his arms around Beijio, "Are you afraid of Beijio? If I'm afraid, I'll send you back first." Beijio shook his head. "Don't be afraid, my mother said that the people in yellow clothes below are all bad guys, and I'm not afraid of bad guys." Lin Xiaoyu in yellow clothes, only Tang Yuan and Beijio remained on top of the golden Tang Yuan's head, and the others all jumped down to open Washuang, and even Yequan went with them. But the really scary one among this group of girls is not Yequan, nor Liyun, Ji Luo, Lin Xiaoyu, but Edwina. Edwina, the hero of Sarodi Isle, once became a demon god, and even though she still has the power of a demon god, she faced the artillery fire of the Rising Sun Army, and just waved her hand towards that side, triggering a burst of unknown source, unknown principle, strong explosion, broken arms and stumps flew around, and the scene was extremely bloody. But the other few people couldn't see where to go. After all, this was killing. No matter how beautiful the killing method was, it was still killing. A guy with normal 3 views, even if he doesn't think there's anything wrong with killing people, he doesn't think that killing people can be described as beautiful. Liu Yun had already forgotten Tang Yuan's instructions, and as soon as he rushed into the enemy's formation, he showed his true colors and got excited, with 6 big tails waving behind him, and a thick blue flame spewed out from his mouth, covering everything in his reach. Everything was burned to ashes. So Vixen can not only be cute, but Vixen can also fight. Lin Xiaoyu is quite compliant, so she carried her huge black technology wrench and fiddled with various deformations. The wrench in her hand turned into a missile launcher for a while, a laser launcher for a while, and it was a huge large caliber machine gun. It was surrounded by a shield. It was the shield that had saved her countless lives in the main god's space. It was no problem at all to defend against the attacks of the Rising Sun army. The scene on Jilo's side is the weirdest. The countless hairs that appeared out of nowhere strangled the necks of the Imperial warriors, and even directly strangled their heads. Some people tried to cut those hairs with lightsabers in their hands, but they didn't. What kind of egg is it? I don't know what kind of material this hair is, but it is so strong that even a lightsaber can't cut it. Yekwin. Refer to Yuriko, anyway, just waved his hand casually, and the other side turned his back on his back, and even some soldiers began to exclaim, "Why is there Yuriko on the opposite side? Go home." And so on, wailing everywhere. On the flagship in the distance, Makarov and Shanna watched the battle on the shoreline expressionlessly. "Hey," Makarov patted Shanna on the shoulder, "why did we follow?" Shanna opened her mouth for a long time, not knowing what to say, and finally she could only reply, "How would I know? Isn't that guy an international mercenary you invited? By the way, when did mercenaries become so cruel? Those it seems that things cannot be explained by science, brother Ma, you really have made some amazing friends. Yet, it's really awesome. Gay power is okay, why do you talk gay? No gay, my friend." To be continued. Chapter 198 Crush them. Just like in mobile games, not just League of Legends, Lolaire and Dog are two different creatures. There is no doubt that minions play a role in war, but the high-end combat power will always be those heroes. Especially, when there are no heroes on the other side who are strong enough to resist this side. The Soviet army successfully landed on the coast of Tokyo without any resistance. Two huge MCVs rumbled off the transport ship and spread out on the coast. Makarov and Shanna joined the battle. Then, the large army followed the huge golden Tang Yuan and marched towards the palace mightily. First of all, they encountered the guard stationed in Tokyo, but the combat effectiveness of this group of warriors was pitifully low, which was the difference between the garrison regiment and the Survey Corps, not to mention the group of fierce girls Tang Yuan brought over. Just that the golden giant who is moving forward is not something that any army can resist, an existence that cannot be destroyed by conventional weapons. After all, it is a material condensed by the power of the gods, the will of the first generation, and only gods can defeat gods. Monster ah! Countless Imperial warriors screamed and were trampled under the feet of the golden giant, turning into a bloody mosaic. The tanks also could not escape the fate of becoming a pile of scrap iron. Even many tsunami tanks turned on the nano shield, but they couldn't last much longer. Even for a second, he was still trampled flat by the golden giant. Even if Nagama Shinzo, Tenashi Kenji, and Sheridan Naomi led a large force to defend Tokyo, they couldn't stop the golden giant at all. Maybe only the general executioner can resist this monster, they thought. However, at this moment, General Executioner and Dalin are busy recovering Osaka. It is too late to rush back. And it is impossible for them to know that even the General Executioner will not be the opponent of the Golden Giant. Soon, Tang Yuan noticed that the Golden Giant under his feet was covered by a huge black sphere, and the black sphere was slowly shrinking. Haha. Super Wave Destruction. This is the super weapon of the Empire of the Rising Sun in Red Alert 1. It is as famous as the Soviet vacuum implosion bomb and the Allied proton collider. It is also equivalent to the Soviet nuclear bomb, Childhood Shadow 2, and Allied lightning storm, Shadows of Childhood. Beijio, close your eyes, it might be very bright later. Tang Yuan said to the little lolly in his arms. Beijio nodded and closed his eyes. Then Tang Yuan didn't move much, just stood on top of the golden giant's head without moving while supporting the small round shield from before. When the black sphere, which was originally huge enough to cover the sky, gradually shrunk to smaller than a fist, it seemed to have undergone a qualitative change. It instantly turned white and suddenly expanded, and a majestic force of destruction enveloped the white sphere. All the objects in the body, the ground around the golden giant shattered, and the buildings were broken into pieces like foam blown by the wind. Tang Yuan said that this is still too weak, isn't it just a supersized super blaster? Before that, he directly received a shot with his face. If he didn't take into account the octagon, he wouldn't even need to open his shield, so that let's see what it means to be not just thick-skinned. The golden giant still stands on the ground. The Rising Sun army looked at it. Oh my god, this guy is not even afraid of a super energy wave destruction device. Can you make some sense? Question mark. The morale that has never been shaken has begun to show a wave. These warriors firmly believe that they are willing to fight anyone for the emperor, and even death is meaningful, but they never thought that one day they would face this situation. Plant something. Does it really make sense to be killed by something like this? No matter how strong something is, once a crack appears, it is doomed to collapse. It is only a matter of time. However, before the morale of these warriors collapsed, the large Soviet troops had already arrived in front of the emperor's palace. You must know that although Tokyo is such a big area, the location of the palace, Chiyoda district, is very far from the coastline. Recently, just look at the map of Tokyo for yourself. Speaking of it, there is another interesting point, that is, the rising sun empire in this world has not experienced World War II in its original history, so there is no Jinguo shrine. In addition, there is no World War II and no invasion of Jinlong Kingdom. It seems that this world in it, the relationship between the rising sun empire and the Golden Dragon Kingdom is pretty good. It's not a kind of official diplomacy, but the people of the two countries are very used to each other. Tang Yuan just feels indifferent about this. But I can't care too much. Just when Tang Yuan was sitting on top of his head, no problem, pretending to be aggressive, the gate of the imperial palace, the world is different, so the emperor's palace in this world is built superimposing, was blocked by an invisible force. The power was turned on, and a figure slowly floated out of it. That is really floating. This is a young girl. Her dress is not reminiscent of the battlefield at all, but the ignorant campus life. Although she is wearing a sailor suit, that is what the Navy would wear decades ago. This style of sailor suit will only appear on the girls in school, and she even has a small school bag on her waist. Tang Yuan is sure that the Yuriko in the original game, whether it is CG or the actual modeling of the game or concept drawing, there is absolutely no such small school bag. That's right, it is Omega Yuriko who slowly floats out from the palace, the strongest combat unit of the Empire of the Rising Sun. In terms of plot, who can destroy the existence of a mixed battalion of infantry and tanks with a wave of hands? The Soviet soldiers also knew very well who this girl in school uniform was. Grunov was full of pride, and they all stayed behind and dared not move on. For a while, only the Golden Giant stood in front of the army, looking down at the countless soldiers. Lily in the distance. Tang Yuan and a group of girls were still standing on top of the Golden Giant. Among them, Yi Quan turned to look at Tang Yuan when he saw Bai Hezi coming out of the palace. She's educated, for now she's loyal to the emperor. So what? She asked. How do I know? Tang Yuan glanced at Lily who was floating in the air in the distance. The little girl didn't know what was going on in her mind. She just floated there doing nothing, like a door god. And then, she moved. This movement was really incredible. Yuriko stretched out her hand to the side and made a gesture of grabbing something, and then a part of the palace wall was torn down by an invisible force. It was more than 10 meters long, several meters high, and more than 1 meter thick. The huge wall flew towards the Golden Giant like a large board. Hey, Yequin, doesn't she know you're up here? Tang Yuan controlled the Golden Giant under his feet to reach out to block the flying fence, and there was a loud boom, and broken bricks and tiles flew around. I must know. I told her. Yequin looked at Yuriko on the ground, and replied calmly, it's just crazy. After all, her spirit is quite abnormal. What should I do? What else can I do? Beat her up. If you don't obey me, you'll wake up after a beating. Yequin curled his lips and said. Clam. To be continued. Chapter 199 Zygote, Retarded Face. Now that Yequin has said that Yuriko is losing his mind, then just listen to her and just beat Yuriko up. Tang Yuan looked at the distance, and there was still a steady stream of Rising Sun troops coming here, so he greeted a group of girls behind him. You are busy with your work. Go and cooperate with the Soviet army to stop the little devils. Don't let them get close here, and Yuriko will be in charge of me and Noizumi. After finishing the division of labor, Tang Yuan folded his fingers and waved his hand, and the Golden Giant under his feet disappeared out of thin air. Holding the star anise, he floated to the ground with Yi Quan, and came to the face of Lily. Yuriko stared blankly at the two people in front of her, and said without a word, Sister? What are you doing here? Yequin sighed and said, Come to pick you up. Pick me up. She looked at Yequin, and there was still no emotion in her words. Where are you going? I want to hold here. No one can pass. Why should I hold here? Where is this place? You is it my friend? Tang Yuan quietly said to Yi Quan, Your sister seems to be seriously ill. Was she spoiled by a group of big guys when she was in the research center? Noizumi shook his head. That's not the case. Let's not say that she is not seen as a human being. Besides, those researchers are afraid that she will not be in time. They are careful every time they do the test, including Shinji Shimada. I guess it's just that my brain has been damaged by electricity. Hey, do you really have electric shock play? Tang Yuan laughed. High voltage. Your uncle, with the high voltage electricity, can my sister and I still stand in front of you and talk now? Yequan said angrily. A moderate electric shock can stimulate the enhancement of superpowers. Yuriko probably got too much electric shock. It has been like this since a long time ago, and she is often insane. You don't know, do you? Just the researchers who died under her hands don't know how many. Awesome. During the conversation between the two, Yuriko didn't show any intention of attacking at all. She only threw a section of the wall at the beginning from the beginning to the end. At this moment, she looked around, yawned, and then floated in the air. Zhang slowly turned around and stretched out his hand to straighten his double ponytail. Sister, who is this guy next to you? Your friend. She glanced at Tang Yuan and asked. He seems to be very good at fishing. Is this kind of men's cooking a bit salty? I don't like it very much. We're black. Tang Yuan was dumbfounded when he heard this. What is it all about? Question mark. It's completely nonsense. Question mark. I'm afraid it's not sleepwalking. Yuriko, can you understand me? Yequan tried to say to her calmly, can you leave here with me? We agreed to live a good life together, remember? Ah, that's right, the sashimi should be dipped in chili and sugar. Sister, your friend is eating fugu in a wrong way, you should add some mint in it. Well, I can't hear it at all, and I can't understand what she is saying at all. Then what should we do? Tang Yuan looked at Yequan. Is it according to the original plan? Beat her up. Yequan waved his hands with a calm face. Hit it up, remember not to hide her on the head, and hide her softly. After she finished speaking, she turned around and stopped looking at her. That's okay. Tang Yuan came to Baihizi, grinning. Little sister, come here, uncle will check your body. Are you going to test again? Ice cream needs mustard to taste good. Are you a new teacher? I read your book, your sister is a magical girl. Hearing this, Tang Yuan felt like shit. Our Tang Xin was shot while lying down, and why did her own sister appear in her notebook? Question mark. I'm afraid it's not for the sister-in-law's welfare. Be careful that the German orthopedics department will come to transnational rescue. He thought about it, and sure enough, this kind of unlucky kid who is full of nonsense should sleep well. Maybe he will be back to normal when he wakes up, right? So she stretched out her finger and pointed at Yuriko's head, ready to launch a small mental blast. Before he could perform his skills, Yuriko suddenly hugged her head and shouted, wow! Mr. Cockroach fell into the salt jar. What the hell? Question mark. Before Tang Yuan figured out what kind of nerve this brat was going on, he felt himself being lifted up by Lily's telekinesis, almost, and then slapped hard on the ground. Paggy, fuck. The ground was photographed with cracks like a spider web. Damn, this is bearable. Question mark. The brat doesn't know what to do. Tang Yuan pointed at Lily's head with a dark face, and it was a small mental explosion. Then there was a boom from Yuriko's head, and the whole person was shocked, fell straight on the ground and fell silent. Tang Yuan walked over and picked up the brat, and handed her to Yequan. Here, your sister is here, she's still alive, and she might not wake up for a while. I know a very capable doctor. Maybe she can show it to your sister in time, and there may be a way to solve her mental disorder. Thank you. Yequan took Baihizi and nodded towards Tang Yuan. What shall we do next? What to do? It's not easy. Tang Yuan looked at the large group of Soviet troops who had already set up a defense line not far behind him and were exchanging fire with the Rising Sun Army, and walked to a person who was sitting next to the ammunition box next to the guy with a bullet in the magazine. Hey, comrade, excuse me. No problem, what can I do for you? This girl with the brown curly hair was still a girl. After being called by Tang Yuan, she stood up and asked nervously. It's okay, you can relax. Well, little sister, what's your name? Tang Yuan looked at this green-faced private girl, and put on a river eel smile. Vinaya, Private, Vinaya Lyanova, please instruct. This little girl is obviously a recruit. She may have just celebrated a birthday, and she doesn't know how she got into the army. Her parents are really willing to send the child to the battlefield, Tang Yuan sighed and knelt down, picking up a magazine and stuffing bullets into the magazine with her. He said, "War is not an easy job. Why do you want to join the army?" I ran to apply for the job without telling my parents." The little girl named Vinaya stared dumbfounded at the efficiency of reloading bullets in Tang Yuan's hand, 3 bullets per second, and stammered. Said, "My brother is in the local garrison. My brother died in a raid by the Rising Sun Army a few months ago. At that time, he was on the top of the lighthouse. He was the first Soviet person killed by the Rising Sun. Brother revenge. It's not easy to pass the enlistment test, isn't it? Even if the standards were lowered a little during the war, but it's not easy." Tang Yuan loaded a magazine, handed it to Vinaya, and picked up another magazine. Continue to load bullets inside. Yaquan next to him was stunned. Why did this guy suddenly start flirting with girls here again? This is still at war. Actually, there was no test. I signed up. I just had a physical examination. I didn't get sick, I didn't have any missing limbs, so I went straight to the army. Vinaya replied awkwardly. Well, I'm not surprised at all, it's just beautifully dark. Tang Yuan sighed, loaded another magazine in his hand, stuffed it into the girl's hand, then stood up, and shouted loudly with his hands behind his back, "Private Lyanova." Here. Vinaya stood upright on a conditioned reflex, and responded. "Follow me, I will take you to avenge your brother." After Tang Yuan finished speaking, he raised a watch on his left hand, contacted Makarov, and continued talking to the screen. "Brother Ma, where are you? There is a second-class soldier named Vinaya Lyanova. It's okay, she didn't offend me. In fact, I was going to break into the palace directly, but after all, this is an operation initiated by the Soviet Union. I, an outsider, will kill you. The target of the action is always a bit unreasonable, so I brought this child. Do you understand? Okay, take it with you." Makarov nodded. "Is there anything else?" "There is something wrong with the east line of the palace. I have to continue to command." "Okay, you are busy." Tang Yuan hung up the communication, pulled Vinaya and ran towards the palace. "Then what? Just me? There must be some guards in the palace. I can't beat it alone." Vinaya yelled with a dazed expression while being dragged by him. "It's okay, you alone are enough. Come with me, and then the battle will be handed over to me. You just need to shoot Fang Lang in the head of that bad old man at the end." To be continued. Chapter 200. The Rising Sun is over. "You broke into my palace in such a majestic way, trying to kill me as a god. You really have the courage. Are you crazy? Do you really think that you can kill a god just like this? Vinaya, do it." "Hey, yes." Boom. Above, a generation of emperors just sat on their thrones and died. Tang Yuan said that this guy is definitely an elderly middle-aged patient. How can it be so easy to be a god? He himself has not quite adapted to the status of god until now, and often unconsciously substitutes himself into the perspective of ordinary people to think about problems. "Fang Lang, if you really have that ability, try to sit still for 2 months, do nothing. This level is perfectly fine for god, right? See if you can survive 3 days without eating, drinking or sleeping." The process of killing Fang Lang was so fast, but it took much longer for Tang Yuan and Vinaya to break through layers of obstacles and finally break into the emperor's room. "And then, what else can I do? It's over." It's not just the emperor who died in this battle. The 3 giants of the empire, Shinzo Nagama, Kenji Yamanashi, and Majo Kuroda, also died in Tokyo. The daimyo of the IGA country, fiefdom, most of the samurai and ninjas in the empire are supplied by the dojo there. Kenji's family business is responsible for the production of transforming mechanical technology, and the Tengu robots and VX strikers are all supplied by Tenxi. It was produced by the consortium, and even the amphibious deformation parts of the tsunami tank had their participation. Behind Kuroda Macho is Shirida ship industry. It can be said that basically all the warships of the empire are produced by her family, which is completely a monopoly. Once these 3 people died, that is to say the cockroach not only lost its head, but also lost 3 pairs of legs. Death is not far away. Eula. When Tang Yuan and the others came out of the palace, and the huge palace behind them collapsed in a huge explosion, countless people cheered in the sky of Tokyo. After that, Tang Yuan didn't participate in the Soviet Army's campaign to wipe out the remnants of the Empire of the Rising Sun. He sent Vinaya to Makarov's office, and after saying, "This girl is the hero who killed the emperor," He led a group of the girl left Tokyo. Then back to the moon. Yequan is no stranger to this outpost villa on the moon. Once he came back here, he ran to his room with Lily in his arms and put her on the bed to wake up. How do I know? Calculating her mental strength and my attack strength, it will only take a day or two. After Tang Yuan left this sentence, he ignored her and started playing with Beijao. What are you playing? Question mark. Beijao also learned the fireball technique from Edwina recently. Foxfire, are you afraid of the blue fireball? Tang Yuan played with Beijao by throwing fireballs. Thanks to the fact that the outpost villa is made of all metal, otherwise the house would have been burned down countless times by these girls. Boss, why can't we learn that fireball technique? Liu Yun came over, his tone full of resentment. Because you're stupid. Oh, I see. So Liu Yun ran to the corner and huddled, doubting life. The Empire of the Rising Sun is over, and the whole country of the Soviet Union celebrates together, because unlike the Soviet Union that first attacked the Allies, the Empire of the Rising Sun attacked the Soviet Union first, so for the Soviet Union, the Empire of the Rising Sun is an invader. How can you not be excited when you defeat the enemy who invaded your motherland? Especially the little girl Vinia, she was completely angry, not only because she killed the emperor, but also because of her brother, that unlucky child who didn't know his name, was the first to die in Rising Sun, the Soviets in the imperial invasion, so this looks really ironic. The sister of the first Soviet killed by Rising Sun ended up killing the emperor. I have to say that feng shui turns, the way of heaven is reincarnated. If you don't believe me, look up, God forgive who. Now the little girl has become a war hero and returned to her hometown gloriously, but even a hero has weaknesses. As soon as she returned home, her parents grabbed her ears and forced her to stand in a corner for 4 hours. Because she ran to sign up for the army without telling her family. In addition to these good things, there are some other small problems. Because when he was in Tokyo, Tang Yuan's penmanship was too big and his pretense was too fierce, so the Soviet officials also encountered some troubles. Because there were too many troops present at that time, tens of thousands of people, so many people saw the indomitable golden giant at that time, and the group of girls who played special effects. Destroying people's 3 views, this group of soldiers spread the news after returning. Good guy, it's not bad. Question mark. All kinds of rumors were flying around all of a sudden. The good ones were my great Soviet has been assisted by the gods, and the bad ones directly learned the various conspiracy theories of the Americans. Aliens have already started gradually control the earth. The golden giant is the weapon of the aliens or something. It's just full of brain holes, and because the Soviet government chose to remain silent about this, the masses of the people took a look. You are not guilty of conscience. All of a sudden, the commotion became more and more serious. Thanks to your government's momentum that we can't sleep well if we don't disclose the truth, all kinds of rumors intensify and fly all over the sky. Qkov was so devastated by these rumors. Finally one day, Qkov looked at a document in his hand, which was roughly a group of people petitioning again, asking the government to disclose details about the golden giant. He finally couldn't stand it anymore, grabbed the document and tore it to pieces, then picked up the phone next to her and dialed a number. Makarov. Can you contact Tang Yuan? Yes, invite him here now. Yes, please come to the Kremlin. I have convinced him. Uncle, I really don't know how to clean up this mess, let him see if there is any solution. Immediately, after hanging up the phone, Qkov leaned back, slumped on the office chair, and let out a long breath. So, young people are impulsive. If you have a little skill, you are afraid that others will not know, and if you don't cause chaos in the world, you will feel uncomfortable. Tucson is broken. Get the clothes. Tang Yuan, who is on the moon, didn't know that the Soviet Union had been made into this appearance by him, but even if he knew, he might show a planning smile. Right, after all, he did it on purpose. As for the purpose, don't you see it's obvious? The Soviet Union can't sit still anymore. The people want to know what's going on with those special effects, and the government, mainly the official, is also highly curious about it. The purpose is self-evident. Tang Yuan wanted to take this opportunity to sell some gadgets to the Soviet Union, and collecting money was secondary, mainly because he wanted a promise from the Soviet Union. After all, leaving aside the main goal of coming to this world, that promise was the reason why Tang Yuan was willing to help the Soviet Union. To be continued. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like, Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.